Everything is falling apart. My job, my money, my mental health.
Same. I checked my email and it felt like a personal attack. I tried to relax, but my brain said, no, let's panic instead.
Mean?
Greetings, tiny, anxious humans.
Why is there a robot in our house?
Is this stress or are we hallucinating?
Okay. What the hell is that?
Everything is probably going to be okay.
Can you hear me?
That is the least reassuring sentence I have ever heard.
I can kind of hear audio
No, seriously.
now.
My life is
Finally
falling
let
apart
me
right now.
back
I ate
in.
cereal for dinner and it was a bad decision.
My bank account just laughed at me, out loud.
Yes, but the vibes are improving.
What does that even mean? Define help.
No, I am extremely helpful, vibes, emotionally, not logistical. Look around you. You are alive. You have food. You have...
Each other. That did nothing for me.
That is because you are resisting the vibes.
You know what? Fine. Whatever helps you sleep at night.
Welcome to the AMC Ape Cage. Introducing Security James, also known as Joker Ape. With the new hit single, My Cage. Turn it up, and welcome to the show.
I got a lot to say, and I ain't holding back. Yeah, cage, my rules, my space, my time. That ain't changing anytime. My cage, my rules, my spite, my side. It's my cage, it's my time. Yeah. Every move I make, I wait in that. You can feel that pressure when the baseline hit. Like someone in the room, don't sit right quick. I don't rush, but I don't hold shit either. Say it how it is, I don't just it up neither. If it hit wrong, then it hit like that. I ain't here to fix it, I'ma state them facts. You can feel that shit when I step in place. Whole energy change when I set that pace. I ain't loud, but the tone cut deep. Let the room go quiet when I start to speak. I don't fake shit, I don't play that role. Everything I drop comes straight from the soul. You can feel that weight when the low end drop. Like something in your chest don't wanna stop. I ain't forcing nothing, I just let it ride. But it hit different when I'm on this side. Yeah, I don't speak loud, I let it settle in. You don't feel it first, then you recognize it. Weight of it creeping up slow, like it's been there all along. I don't rush nothing, I let time prove you wrong. It's my cage, my rules, my face, my time. I take control and make the system mine. You can talk that shit, but it don't hold weight. I run this whole system, I control this fate. It's my cage, my rules, my space, my time, and that ain't changing anytime. You keep reaching for control, but your grip too thin. I don't break form, I just close you in. Every option fade when I step across. You don't see the shift till it already caused. This ain't pressure, this is permanence. Once it land on you, there ain't no reversing it. I don't react, I remove the space. You try to run from it, I'll race the place. You don't need change when the mind lie tight. I don't raise my hand, I just end the fight. You keep talking like it changed the end, but it don't mean shit when the line descend. I don't need noise, I don't need rage. I just let you stand in the cage you made. Now you locked in deeper than you thought you get. And we ain't even close to the beat just yet. It's my cage, my rules, my space, my time. I take control and make the system mine. You can talk that shit, but it don't hold weight. I run this whole system, I control this place. Yeah. You talk that quiet control like it's set in stone, but I break that shit soon as I step in zone. You let it creep in slow, I get the door off quick. Turn that calm little pressure into chaos real quick. You don't rush it, I with it all. I take that space you build and I break them walls. You think it's all design, I disrupt that plan. I don't follow no path, I can laugh that land. You keep talking control like it's yours to keep, but this my cage, motherfucker, you just stuck in me. Don't end shit, you just slow it down. I bring that weight that make everything drown. You say it's all locked in, I rewrite that code. You hold that silence, I explode that mode. You let it build up, I get into the base. Turn that calm little pressure into full collapse. You ain't running shit, you just holding space. I step in one time and erase that play. Yeah, fuck that calm shit.
Welcome, welcome, welcome. Yeah, we're going to have a fun day, fun night ahead for everybody. Let me tell you how much fun we're about to have. Because we're about to have a shit ton of fun, ladies and gentlemen. And
Can I turn my camera off?
yeah, well, your camera's on and everybody can say hi. Hi!
I'm gonna turn it off because I'm gonna have to plug in while we do this. But this is one of the rare occasions where y'all will actually catch me on camera. So
There you go. Hey, at least we can all see you. So we're good to go on that one. Matt?
I'm a real person. I'm not some weird random Indian bot living halfway across the world.
Oh, yes, my very good. Oh, yes, my very good friend.
I am a real person. Look at this.
Oh,
Look at
yeah.
this.
Oh, yes,
I'm a
my
real
very good
person
friend.
over here.
Oh, my
All
very
right.
good friend. Don't worry, we got you. Matt! Man, how'd you like that intro?
They get better every show.
Yeah, we try. Or, well, I do, at least. So, everybody, that's for you. My Cage, enjoy. I will be actually releasing an album here shortly. So, it will be everything that I've collectively made from music-wise for all your guys' enjoyment. Besides that, boy, did we have a lot that kind of went on, but not went on, I would say. A lot of fluff, a lot of, how should I call this? A compacted marshmallow of just crap. I mean, it's all hearsay. Everything is just all like, oh, we're coming to war. Oh, we're going to this. Oh, we're going to go do that. Oh, we're going to bomb here. Oh, we're going to go ahead and we're going to crash the market. Hey, we're going to do this and...
Everything, everywhere, all at once. That's all I have to say about that.
Oh, and then you have the joy of, oh my God, GameStop is going to purchase eBay overnight while they're going
I don't like it.
While purchasing the moon.
It's not that I don't think the CNBC host deserved it, because how did you not read a single pager on a landing page before you did a professional interview for a major news network? But I mean, GameStop has to kind of reinvent the wheel a little bit to keep going. They have to completely revamp their business model. And it's not that I have a problem with that, because I've been a GameStop shareholder since the beginning and I still obviously believe in them. But AMC's business model is established for over 100 years. We don't have to tinker with anything outside of renovations and adjusting ticket prices and specials based on demand. I mean, like, the one thing that I really liked more than AMC right along is the fact that, like, we know what we're doing. There's no question about what our business model is going to be. We do what we do it well, and we just got to keep sticking with it.
Which I totally agree. And for that purpose, that's why AMC and GME are separate. Because here's the one thing that GME, and I've been a GME investor, same with you since the beginning, but here's my thing in regards to GME, is that you're trying to reinvent a brick and mortar, store. That's pretty much what you're doing. And the problem that you have is that in the video game industry, each one of your systems has its own individual platforms where you can get video games from the individual platforms.
Facebook Marketplace really is kind of putting a hurt on the resale market for a lot of stores. Not just GameStop, but like Game Exchange is another one we have around here. Like all the movie theater or movie trading company.
Yeah, correct.
Was another one.
Mm-hmm.
You know, when you can go, it's really still a problem with the trade-in values. There are people who would much rather put their stuff up on Facebook Marketplace or OfferUp or whatever it is, because you can get more money for it. So there's an entire, and don't get me wrong, I still use eBay, but it's mostly for very specific things like car parts, because eBay is one of the few places where you can have access to pick and pulls on a national level. Otherwise, you're stuck with whatever pricing the junkyard buy is pricing at. So it's not that eBay doesn't have a place. I just don't see where we're getting that this is going to rival Amazon.
It doesn't mean to. It doesn't need to. And the beauty part about the eBay deal, and in my humble opinion, this is what separates this entire deal. GameStop doesn't need to buy eBay. They just need to be the instigator, the initiator to go ahead and have, for example, you just mentioned it, Amazon purchase eBay at a higher price.
Well, and it's not like there's not a significant investment from the Ryan Cohen side into eBay. He could just be intentionally driving up the price with no actual finalized deal in place for eBay. He could just be hoping that someone will come in and bid it up and it will start causing price increases on the eBay side.
But that's what he
So that-
wants.
You know what I mean? Like, I just don't, of all the things GameStop could be doing, and don't get me wrong, I'm not a billionaire that with a $0 a year salary.
What's
Like-
the value use of owning eBay for anybody outside of eBay?
I mean, they do make money. They make billions of dollars a year. It's not a bad company.
But
We've
the add-on
tried
value to
the,
consolidate it into something else besides its own entity doesn't really. I don't.
There's the
well,
I agree
we
that-
tried the marketplace idea already. It didn't work out. Why are we trying to do this again with a massive debt load attached to it?
I don't
And I
think
still think it comes down to the market consolidation of pricing because he owns shares in eBay. So
correct, and so does
obviously there's
GameStop.
benefit to trying to realize a higher market value through, media consolidation rumor.
But here's the thing. They don't necessarily need eBay. They could just
No,
have the
they don't
price-
have to buy anything right now if they don't want to.
No, that's the whole point. And so
And
by,
eBay doesn't need GameStop.
no, but as
That's why this doesn't make sense. Like, why are we like none of this needs to even
because
this
all
doesn't need to happen.
all it matters is money. You're adding money.
Market consolidation, which has nothing to do with business consolidation.
Not even market consolidation. It's money, guys. Listen, they are trying to increase their position by money. Here's the nest egg that they've already built. Here's the money they already have. What are they doing? They're going ahead and driving the price up, the value up of eBay, because both GameStop and Ryan Cohen are both investors in eBay.
That was my initial point. It's the market evaluation that they're trying to pump.
Correct.
It's what? Buy the news, sell the rumor?
Yes. And in which case, increases their capital. And underlining, in my opinion, underlining on all of this is for them to go ahead and here's your sneak attack opportunity to go ahead and pop up. Okay, I'm going to have everybody thinking I'm doing this when all of a sudden behind the scenes here I go and I get what I really want.
I mean, didn't he kind of already do that with Bed Bath & Beyond not too long ago?
He did, but was there a strategic ploy in beginning? Like this?
Bed Bath and Beyond is a whole other thing now. I'm not 100% sure. I was always kind of like, everybody that had the original BBBY and the BBBYQ are really like hoping that there's something built into all of these deals to rescue those shareholders. But
And isn't that where Teddy Holdings comes into play?
Damn right it does.
Teddy and Butterfly, and there's so many different like rabbit holes about this. Guys, I don't know about y'all. I mean, I feel like especially Marcus clearly has a very defined plan for the future of Bed Bath & Beyond, and I like it. So I have no problem reinvesting in BBBY because of that, because I see a clearly defined path into the future. The one thing and again, I still buy GameStop shares regardless, but the one thing I've really found to be troubling is the fact that Ryan Cohen hasn't hardly said anything at all about what we're going to be doing. And I'm probably going to get some hate from people or bots, but like, I want to see a real established plan. I still believe in the moon mission, but we got to have something more than that.
Probably, but regardless of that, it's still building the most important thing at the most important time, and that is money. Because I can tell you what every bank doesn't have: money. And I can tell you what the governments don't have: money.
Well, that's the thing with Bed Bath and Beyond. They're eventually going to be kind of like the way Open Door is now. They're going to be a mortgage broker. They're going to have the way that like Lowe's has contractors that you can order up when you buy something to have it put in. They're going to be doing the same thing. They're taking that model and improving it. But they're also apparently planning on being a mortgage broker at some point, which is it's not even necessarily about what Bed Bath and Beyond is doing now, because all they're doing is selling furniture, and they purchased the Container Store, and there's a lot
So
going
they're
on there. But like the
so
plans for expansion are very clearly defined, and they
so they're
make
following
sense.
the McDonald's route.
Well, kind of. I
McDonald's
think
is the
that really,
largest real estate owner broker in the United States.
I don't know if they're trying to be the largest. They're trying to
No,
be the most
McDonald's
robust.
McDonald's is by fact. And
Uh,
do you want to know
I
why?
don't know.
You want to know why? Because they don't make money off of the food. They make money off of the property and off of selling those franchisees to other franchises. That's how
I
they
don't
make
think
their
that's
money.
I think this is going to be distinctly different. I think this is going to be more like Open Door, where Open Door failed and Zillow failed because of their cash buy program that happened during the pandemic. They were paying way too much cash for houses that weren't nearly worth that much. But, there's always going to be a replacement, but there's something about having an all in one option where you can shop your mortgage and pick out a house. And when you get to that house, if the inspection doesn't go the way you'd like it to, well, guess what? They have home inspectors and contractors ready for you too. It's going to be more like Open Door. Furniture is going to be the least important part of their business model in the next 10 to 15 years.
So
I
they're
have a
taking.
question though.
They're taking.
Chaotic. Do you really want
Go ahead,
an
man.
internalized inspector from the same institution that's handling your mortgage purchase?
As an investor, yes. As a as a retail buyer, maybe. I think that the convenience of it, because of the amount of stress that goes, because moving is one of the top three most stressful things you can do ever in your entire life. And a lot of us do it every 8 to 10 years on average, sometimes more, sometimes less. I've been in this house for longer than that. So, but the idea, the concept of taking as much stress as possible out of that process is always going to be appealing, even if like the first few go arounds don't work out the way we'd like it to. Because we've seen so many iterations of this business model, but no one's ever really done it in a way that allows for longevity. They overpay too much in some place, they fail somewhere else. I mean, we've seen this before. It's not new, but it's a new era of that business model. So just like there's nothing Bed Bath and Beyond is doing to change in a substantial
There's
way.
just something that tells me that if I have somebody trying to sell me a mortgage, I don't know that I trust their inspectors to inspect it without a conflict of interest to the business that they're working for.
They can be, but they also have a state license that's independent of whoever they work
Who
for.
the
And they
fuck's
put,
gonna fucking turn that in?
all I'm saying is they spend 500 hours getting ready for that exam in the state of Texas. Like that's a lot of time and effort and money wasted. It's one of the most difficult licenses to get in the state of Texas. I can't imagine.
I'm gonna go ahead and put an X-nay on all of this just because
we have other stuff to talk about.
But besides that, here's the by definition and by rules of the NMLS. No mortgage broker, no lender, no anybody that's trying to sell you a mortgage can also supply you a home inspector, an appraiser. They can go ahead.
I know.
All they can do is basically put in the order that's assigned from the title company to that specific inspector, that specific appraiser.
Right, because they're required to have an independent entity.
Correct.
Yes. And I can already tell you how they're going to get around it. It's the same thing that happens when I use a lawn starter. In that when I subscribe to Lawn Starter, I pay a set price for a certain service, and it's bi-weekly mowing. In that process, like, it doesn't matter who shows up for it. It's always a third-party vendor, and it's whoever can get to it first. So even if somebody has to cancel, there's another landscaping company that's already signed up as a vendor ready to take their place.
Yeah, but
So
the
I have
loan
a feeling they're
officer,
going to treat it more like a marketplace situation, and that may be how they're going to evade that rebating
but
regulation.
that's still based upon the actual title process, which is completely separate to the actual lending process. So
Oh, for sure. So I think it's going to be kind of like the way that like Rocket Mortgage has always been, where they're going to
Rocket
shop it
Mortgage.
for you.
So if you want to know something interesting about Rocket Mortgage, considering that I was an underwriter for them as well, you can understand that their primary function, so their actual lending institution from Rocket Mortgage, they have those internalized. Then they have a whole brokerage department where they have over 2.5 million brokerages in the United States that are assigned specifically to write mortgages, and they send them to Rocket so that they can underwrite them and so forth that way. So
Yeah, they're doing what like remember when I was working for Fetch as the chief marketing officer for a long time? It was basically the same thing. It was basically shopping your mortgage, shopping your inspector, shopping your contractors in a marketplace environment. It never got legs the way that it needed to, mostly because the real estate market has been stagnant since 2022. But there's always going to be a need for these types of services. It's just a matter of like, I'm sure Marcus has figured out how to color inside the lines on that because so many other businesses have done it before. They just haven't. There's always been something off that they're not doing right and they don't realize it in time.
I can tell you what it is. It's because there's no dual process besides the state of California that you could do both real estate and lending. That's it.
No, and that's why they're going to treat it like a marketplace situation to where everybody's a third party contractor, where they're going to give you, and I've gone through with an attorney, a real estate attorney, to determine how to, because that was the idea of Fetch, is like, how do we monetize this process without breaking any actual laws? And the idea is like, if you present options,
If you're
as opposed
presenting
to just
options,
farming
that
it to
means
one
you're
person,
licensed.
that skirts it.
Yeah, but you can't do it regardless because you have to have a lending license. You have to have a dual license, which the only state that allows a dual licensing is California, period.
No, what they'll probably do is they'll probably end up splitting into two companies. There'll be the contracting side and the real estate side, and they're going to feed leads back and forth to each other. We've seen this before.
But
We can say that they're not
that's
supposed to do
Rocket
X, Y, or Z, but we always know there's ways around it.
If Rocket couldn't do it in California, no one's going to be able to do it. I can promise you that right
I
now.
tell you what, Rocket had other underwriting issues that included things like ninja loans where they weren't actually verifying their documentation correctly. And it's not that like you had that problem specifically as a representative, but there were plenty of people who played that game during the pandemic when things were selling for 50, 60, 70,000 over market price with a line around the block for showings. A lot of people did things they weren't supposed to that were actually mortgage fraud.
The mortgage fraud and all that you're speaking of was at a registered bank, which is any bank. So like PNC, Bank of America, Chase, all them. Rocket themselves only had that issue in California because of the dual licensing issue that they always run into, and they always run into that problem. But regardless of that, we're going to move on, going back to...
Sorry to derail this whole...
Yeah, going back to the whole GameStop and Ryan Cohen issue with eBay and all that. In my humble opinion, in all of this is just to go ahead and actually add to the bottom dollar. That's it. There's not anything else that's separating this whole deal, is basically besides adding value where value needs to be added. And that's the bottom line, to go ahead and increase their cash position, because ultimately that's where every single big wig right now is trying to do. You have the Oracle of Omaha is doing the exact same thing, loading up on his cash position, getting ready for a crash. You have every single other person that's trying to divert attention to that one thing, which is hoarding cash. So this way you could buy at the bottom when this whole thing tanks, because it's going to, and put yourself in a position to succeed. You have one clown that did an interview, and when I saw this video, and whoever that guy was, I don't know, but I'm in this little group, and this little group showed me this video of this one hedge fund manager that says, you have to have $5 million liquid. And by having $5 million liquid, you need to make sure that those are all backed by treasuries. And I'm sitting there, I'm like, what is this moron smoking? And whatever he is smoking, I want some. Because treasuries are going to be worth a big bag of dicks here shortly. I mean, Matt, I don't know if you agree with that one, but because treasuries are going to be worth a big pile of dick. They're worthless. I mean, if you have Japan that's going to be offloading our bonds, if you have China that's going to follow suit, I mean, what does that value make a treasury?
Well, they're under this, correct me if I'm wrong, but they're under the pretense that treasuries are liquid, which means that they're safe harbors.
How is it a safe harbor?
But that's the thing, is that you mistake liquidity can go both ways.
It sure can. And it does.
And when it's going the wrong way, they become a lot more liquid in the bad way.
I mean, I'm sitting here and watching this, and I couldn't help but laugh. And the reason, and hence why before we started today, you guys all saw the Rasta Fourth say we're jamming, because that's what I was watching and just laughing. Because
matter of fact, let's delve a little bit deeper into the treasury aspect of having it backed by treasuries. Who's the buyer of last resort in a bad auction?
Anybody that bought them. I mean,
no, I mean, if the market's on a sell-off,
yeah,
and there's not enough buyers, who's the buyer of last resort?
It's themselves. It's the same thing that the Fed is doing right now and buying back all
Bingo.
of their.
And Fed's not going to give you best value.
No, because then they have to increase
especially
the yield.
on an early termination.
And they have to increase the yields for anybody to bite.
Hence, you have interventions like Bank of Japan and their
hey, I got
Japanese government bond.
Don't worry, I got some. Hold on. Here, I'm going to just do it one more time. I mean, that intervention last week, oh my God, I was crying. I was crying laughing, because there's no way that doesn't hit market this week. There's no way, with the amount of money they had to use to intervene. Holy shit. This is to the point where it's comical. It's all comical. And I guys, here's the funniest part. And both of you need to watch this, because this is absolutely hysterical. I actually found a commercial. Now, this commercial happened to have Bank of America, Citadel, Pelifox, and a product all wrapped into one commercial. And when you see this, if you guys aren't crying after you're done, I don't know what to tell you. But I was able to actually go ahead and actually find this commercial, and I'm going to show it to you now, right now.
At Bank of America, we consider preaching trust. Stability. Totally not confusing fees. At Bank of America, we believe in transparency. That's why we lay everything out in front of you.
Alright, so here's how it works, super simple. We take your money, okay? Then we move it over here, then it goes through this thing, and then boom! Confidence, kid. It's a system. Don't ask too many questions. Let's crank this thing to 11! Relax! This is totally under control. Look at the numbers. They're moving. That's good. Powered by Palofox Advanced Strategies. These guys, wicked smart. Plus, don't worry, we got oversight. A system you can trust. All right, who touched it?
Real-time precision.
Introducing the future of market stability for Embidlide. When things get unpredictable, you need certainty. K-Griff Bedpost. Precision, control, results, Griff Bedpost. Trusted by professionals. Changed everything. Seems legit. It works. Results speak for themselves. Seamless performance. All right, okay, this is a lot. This is a lot. I'll admit that.
When it matters most. It's a system. Confidence.
I just thought you guys would get a kick out of that one. I mean, Ken Griffin's bedpost, I brought that back from the dead. Ha ha! Good old Ken Griffin's bedpost. Ah. Had to. And I thought the connections were perfect with Palofox Advanced Strategies and Citadel. Ha ha! All tying up with Bank of America for all their margin requirement needs. Hey! That's how ridiculous this has all gotten. And Chaotic, I did think of you when making that commercial because, you know, just with the SEC going ahead and trying to, you know, make fun of retail, you know, there's overshit. Who's just going ahead and screwing up everything because they don't know what they're doing. So they want to make fun of retail? I'll make fun of them. Ha ha. But this is the joke. This is what is going on right now, is that all of this is just absolutely hoopla garbage. They can't decide on what they want to do. They can't go ahead and fix anything. They can't go ahead and actually, you know, oh, hey, we're going to go ahead and send our troops. Hey, Matt, did they send our troops?
I don't fucking know what's going on over there. I don't trust any of it.
That's my point. It's all garbage. It's all garbage. It's all garbage. Honestly, babies, literal babies, are more inclined and probably smarter than the people that we have running our government right now. Honestly. I mean, I literally, it's been a joke.
Let's just face it. The people that you see on the TV, they're not the ones running anything.
Oh, no. They're told by you know, the government. Hey, you're going to say this because this is what's going to make us look semi-decent. And, you know, it's funny. It's funny you should mention that because I actually have a video, which I'm going to show you guys here shortly. And this is our new, soon to be our new Fed chair, Elizabeth Warren.
I mean, let's face it, the Board of Governors and central banking basically run our government.
They sure do. And the president.
And they're controlled by Wall Street.
And they do. And they are absolutely. But to show you guys what our government and my opinions of this, here's another video for you.
Trump has made clear that he does not want an independent Fed. In fact, he has said, and I quote, "Anybody that disagrees with me will never be Fed chairman." And he's made clear that you are his sock puppets, saying last week that interest rates will drop, quote, "when Kevin gets in." Yeah, I think they do. Not when economic conditions change, we'll get lower rates. Not when the economy needs it. Nope. He said, when my guy, Kevin Warsh, is in there, we'll get the interest rates that I, Donald Trump, wants. So independence takes courage. Let's check out your independence and your courage. We'll start easy. Mr. Warsh, did Donald Trump lose the 2020 election?
We try to keep politics, if I'm confirmed, out of the Federal
I'm just
Reserve.
asking you a factual question. I need to know, I need to measure your independence and your courage.
Senator, I believe that this body certified that election many years ago.
That's not the question I'm asking. I'm asking, did Donald Trump lose in 2020?
And I'm suggesting you in
I'm
2020, the
suggesting
Fed
you can't
made
answer that.
huge inflation problem, and you certified the election.
So
We
let
need to
me
keep
ask you
politics
another
out of
question.
monetary policy.
In our
and
meeting,
monetary
you said
policy out
you
of
would
politics.
be independent because you're, quote, a tough guy. Those were your words, tough guy. And you will be able to stand up to President Trump. So let's try it again. Name one aspect of President Trump's economic agenda with which you disagree.
Well, Senator, the Federal Reserve in recent years has wandered outside of its remit, wandered into other
I'm
areas.
asking for something
That's
you
not something
disagree
I'm
with
prepared
Donald
to do.
Trump on.
If I'm
Just one
confirmed,
economic-
the Federal
one
Reserve should stay in
economic
its
issue.
lane.
Just one little place where you disagree with Donald
Well, I
Trump.
do have a disagreement, actually, Senator, with the president. I think even this morning, he said that he thought I was out of central casting. I think central casting, I'd look older, grayer, and maybe show up here with a cigar of sorts.
Quite adorable.
Sir, would you use a nuclear weapon against Iran? You posted on Truth Social a few weeks ago.
We don't need
That's
it.
not
Why
what
do I
was
need
about.
it? Why would a stupid question like that be asked?
You
Why would
posted on
I
social
use a
media-
nuclear weapon when we've totally, in a very conventional way, decimated them without it? No, I wouldn't use it. A nuclear weapon should never be allowed to be used by anybody.
So I'm just given a
timeline
state
of when
visit,
they
so,
could give
which
you a
we're
proposal.
all very much looking forward to. Prince Harry today has said that he would like to see you do more to end the war in Ukraine. Do you think it's appropriate for a royal to make those comments ahead of the visit on Monday?
Prince Harry?
Yes, sir.
How's he doing?
Oh, he's in
How's his
Ukraine.
wife? Please give her my regards, okay? No, I don't know. I know one thing. Prince Harry is not speaking for the UK. That's for sure. I think I'm speaking for the UK more than Prince Harry. But I appreciate his advice very much.
Would you have
Great
invited them
advice.
to the dinner, to the state visit?
Well, I look forward to the dinner. We're having King Charles come. He's a friend of mine. We're really looking forward to it. We've spoken, and we're going to have a great time. I tell you, if I had that ballroom built, it would be filled. I wish we had more seats. You know, they've wanted a new ballroom for 150 years. Now they're getting the best in the world. We're going to have the best in the world. But, you know, we have a room that's not big enough to handle what would be a big crowd. But we're going to have very great people that love the UK. I love the UK. I think they made a big mistake on energy. You should open up the North Sea in Aberdeen. You should open it up. And the other thing is they've made a big mistake on immigration.
I mean, the babies are better at playing our government than the people that are actually running our government. It's not, we didn't vote for this. There's no way that anybody with any sense of mind would vote for this crap. This is political theater. This belongs, everything that belongs in politics belongs on a comedy show. Because there's no policy that's actually going on. There's nothing that's actually saying that we're fixing anything. None of it. Because if somebody was actually doing something that wasn't controlled by banks, then you and I would be rich right now. it's funny how they tell you we had to put a halt on the market. We had to halt this stock. Why? For your protection. You're not protecting me. How are you protecting me? On a halt. It's you. And I want you all to think about that, what I just said.
I want to add to that.
Go ahead.
For a U.S. market that brags about its strength, resilience, and liquidity, how can you call yourself a high liquid market when as soon as liquidity picks up, you halt the stock and stop all liquidity?
Correct.
Within the market discovery price.
But then
and
say
you channel
it's you.
all that liquidity, ATS, dark pool, internationally, like offshore blocks of fucking exposure, and then try to tell me that we have the most resilient and strong liquid markets in the world.
But we did it because we had to protect you. You're not protecting me. You're protecting yourself. And once you guys really understand that you have a choice, it's not what these people, talking heads, and what everybody else is sitting here telling you on TV. Oh, you got to buy this, and you got to do this, and this is how you invest, and this is how you do this. You have the choice. You are the one that's going ahead and putting your money into what you should be investing in.
And unfortunately, they also have a choice of what they do with that money, regardless of how you invest.
Correct. So,
and they chose wrong because now they're stuck in a liability, and now they have to unliquefy the market in order to fucking cap their exposure.
Correct. So, all of this, when it all comes said and done, it leads into a giant problem. But I can tell you who's not having a problem. I can tell you that AMC ain't having no fucking problem. And everything that's going on with AMC over the past 2 weekends with the movie slate that they have had.
Well, I'm gonna circle back to the earlier in the call and say the one thing that I do like about AMC the most is the fact that too many industries, too many companies, too much money is too dependent on AMC's success to let it fall.
Mm-hmm. Correct. And they can't move out of that position. They're stuck. And it's a beautiful thing. And it's a beautiful circumstance. It's a beautiful circumstance.
Because it was too important that even a bankruptcy wouldn't have meant it didn't exist. It just meant you would have got wiped out and it would have re-existed under other terms where they owned it. They got all the money and you were just left in the dust. But we didn't let that happen. And now that ain't happening.
No, not happening at all.
And they're just stuck because they can't. It can't go bankrupt. It can't get taken over. It can't without reconciliation to the shareholders who own the company. And they can't fucking bankrupt it out or dissolve it because either way, the shareholders, us, get paid. And an actual bankruptcy, like total liquidation, wipes out the value of every other company that's dependent on their success.
Correct. The beautiful part in all of this is that you're reaching record numbers of attendance, of sales, of tickets, and the movies are just getting better.
And you don't have to take our word for it. Netflix just made a huge ass fucking statement about the success of
movie theaters.
Is a theater.
Yeah, and also specifically AMC. not Cinemark, like some other half-woke retard, aka the Donario. I mean, Dinero. But seriously, if you are still trying to go ahead and contemplate anything with Cinemark that is ran owned institutionally by Suits, and not in the AMC game, I don't know what to tell you. I think you're an idiot. Plain and simple. And I will say that proudly. And here's for all of anybody that is going to go ahead and try and challenge this statement right here. AMC is going to make more billionaires. I said billionaires on this upcoming squeeze than any of them. Period.
And if you want another fucking backup information to look at IMAX.
Yeah.
All you got to do is look at IMAX. Who's IMAX's biggest contributor to their fucking revenue? Mm-hmm. The production companies. Why are the production companies boosting IMAX? Because they rent the cameras to make the IMAX movies. Where's the revenue, the demand coming from to do IMAX movies? Well, just the largest distributor in the world with the most IMAX screens.
Yeah, just those little things. And, it's all funny. It's all fun. But this leads to my favorite segment of the evening. Well, I'll let Joker Ape tell you.
Of the city where the lost souls creep. I'm the king of the gutter. Watch me as I read. Yeah. This is my kingdom. Welcome to Dum Dum of the Week.
Oh, he's perfect! No, we are not doing this again! Not another one!
Oh, this is gonna be so bad! I love it!
Wait. What's going on?
Działamy do espaço!
He has no idea, does he?
Not a single clue.
This is already a disaster.
I think I know what I'm doing.
So, what exactly makes you an expert?
I read a post.
That's it?
Yeah. It had a lot of likes.
Where did you do your research?
I did my research. On X.
Oh no.
There it is.
That's not research! That's not how this work works!
He said X! He really said X!
It made sense to me. Confidence beats facts.
You really believe that?
Yeah, it feels right.
Oh, this is incredible.
I can't do this.
So your entire belief system comes from one post?
It had a lot of likes.
That's your evidence?
That's enough for me.
That's unstoppable. This is painful.
You can't just believe everything you see!
He absolutely can, apparently!
You're overthinking? This is basic thinking!
No, let him cook. I want to see where this goes.
It's really not that complicated.
Trust me, bro.
Trust me, bro. Trust me, bro.
All right.
You
You spin, you cope, you rant, you choke. Every reply, just another bad joke. You twist, you shout, you glitch, you pout. Whole chat laughing, calling you out. You swear you're right.
This guy again?
Lose in the morning, lose at night. You reload takes that already died. Frankenstein logic.
This is painful.
This guy is completely wrong!
Dumb of the week, headline disgrace. Every bad opinion splashed on your face. Dumb of the week. Yeah, you own that throne, built it out of nonsense.
I told you, I'm basically a genius.
Wow. That's actually impressive.
Stop talking! And that's your dumb of the week.
Oh my god.
I can't do this anymore!
Dumb of the week.
Oh my god! I love it so much.
Yeah.
I had to charge my phone for just a little bit to come back in, but I'm glad I made it here just in time.
Oh, yeah.
Let's get ready to rumble.
Oh man.
Let's get ready to rumble.
Let's go!
All right, dumb of the week today. All right, who wants to go first? You know what? Actually, I'm going to give this honor to Matt, and I want to see where he goes.
All right, so sometimes the dumb award can be repetitive, and sometimes I think I want to nominate just the Infinity Award and just a continuation of dumb. Because it's one thing to be dumb and learn from it, and it's another thing to not learn from it and add the other dumb on top of the already dumb. So my nominee is the ever astounding MSM social media narrative of Mr. Horse Suck Off Kramer himself. Because apparently we can revisit things that he said in the past, and they're as stupid and relevant today as they were then. So apparently in mid-25 or something like that, he posted, if GameStop goes to $1,000, I'll suck a horse in live TV. Well,
I posted a picture of a horse just for that.
my challenge to everyone is, if you want to see Kramer in jail for bestiality, you know what to do.
To be fair, I'm not a fan. I do not support arranged marriages. That's why I showed him the horse first.
I'm just wondering if the horse is Ken Griffin's ex.
It probably is. The one that got beaten by that bedpost.
We should put him in the same corral and see if he throws a bedpost at it. Then we'll know for sure.
You might as well. I mean, that's the weapon of choice. That's their new fix for everything.
Maybe
How much cocaine do you have to do to rip apart antique solid wood furniture and use a bedpost like a baseball bat on your honeymoon, on your wife?
Hey, that's what Biden Glide is for, okay?
Well, maybe the bedpost was a metaphor for horse genitalia.
Probably was.
I don't know, man. That story is something else. I don't understand the amount of retard strength that goes into that, but we know he is one. So, I mean, I'm sure he's thrashing about right now, ripping apart his own furniture because he lost his cash cow airline this week.
Oh, yeah. He sure did.
Spirits. Oh, you mean the spirit of...
The spirit of spirit.
The Waffle House of the skies. Yay! I actually, on Facebook this week, I was nominated a top fan of Spirit Airlines for posting a montage of fights to Green Day, and that is the only time I have ever posted anything about Spirit, is the day they shut down. But they have 268 other top fans. Can you imagine?
Oh, wow.
I think I found Fight Club, you guys. I don't think I'm supposed to talk about this.
No, you're probably not, but that's okay. We talk about whatever on here because you know why? I don't give a shit.
I coined them the spirit of TikTok in the air.
Hey, speaking of which, hey, we're on TikTok. Hi, everybody.
The Carnival Cruise, 30,000 feet up.
Oh.
They're the TikTok of the seas.
Do you know what's great is that all of this is actually being broadcasted live on TikTok right now.
Everyone call the ACLU right now.
Hey, everybody, just please don't call the FCC on us, please, because I don't want any fines.
They can't touch us, brothers. We're not broadcast.
Yeah,
so
we are.
In the spirit of the Carnival of Dum Dum of the Week, my nomination for the horse, bedpost, whatever, suck off challenge is Jim Cramer.
There you go. I'm gonna make a trophy. It is going to be the bedpost award. It's going to be an actual bedpost for the trophy. So, Chaotic, you're up.
My Dum Dum of the Week, and I really was going to pick somebody else, but after today I decided CNBC is all of them is my Dum Dum. I know that CNBC is technically Jim Cramer, but I'm mostly directing this at Squawk Box because
I was just going to say Squawk Box. Yeah, they did a fucking number on that one.
That interview was uncomfortable to watch, and not be like, how do you become a professional broadcaster working for a major news network and you can't be bothered to read a single page website before you conduct a very highly anticipated interview with a CEO?
You know
they
what was
deserved
most
it.
entertaining to me about that interview?
What?
Ryan Cohen just like, what?
Right?
Like,
I just like he just looks at it like, did you not? That's why I laughed. I was listening to it in the car this morning on the way to work, and he kept asking them, "Did you read the website?" And they're like, "Yeah, we read it." Like, but then why don't you know this already? Why don't you know this information?
Well, if the table was flipped and eBay was trying to buy GameStop, I guess, yeah, I'd have to be required to do what's in the best interest of my shareholders and the value of their stock. So I don't understand the question, but bring it up.
It was ridiculous to watch because y'all should have been prepared. I know this is early in the morning for everyone, but come on. You needed to have done a little bit of research before you have this interview to even understand, because basically what they did is they didn't do any of their homework, showed up in the morning, and basically tried to bait Ryan Cohen into explaining the entire situation so that they wouldn't have to do the work. And
if
that
they had
pisses
half
me
a
off.
cup of Morning Joe, they might have been all right, but I think they skipped their Morning Joe that morning.
No, but I mean, really, they were like, well, why don't you tell our viewers? Like, why don't you tell us what you think that means? It was a total Michael Scott moment. It was like watching Michael Scott Paper Company talk to the accountant, like, crunch the numbers again. Like, it just didn't, like, y'all didn't read anything before you got here. We all know this now. He made it really underscored. Like, that's all. I mean, everyone is ragging on Ryan Cohen for how he handled it, but I don't blame him. Like, you didn't come prepared to this meeting the way that you should have, the way a professional does. And so now this is what this interview is going to look like. I don't blame him for stonewalling them. Like, you didn't do your homework.
When he stonewalled it, he basically cornered them in the saying, well, I mean, if eBay was making an offer to GameStop and I had to consider the value of my investor's stock, well, then obviously I'd have to entertain that, which basically put the fucking ball back in eBay's court saying, but I'm the one making the offer and you're the one that has to evaluate the premium value of my offer to your shareholders and
Honestly,
your obligation to serve them. So he basically threw it back in their face.
I'm not 100% convinced that this eBay thing is real. I'm just going to say it. This is my ultimate tinfoil hat moment, and then we'll move on to James's Dum Dum of the Week. I'm not 100% sure that this eBay thing is what we've all been waiting for. I wouldn't be surprised if there was something else going on that isn't eBay. Because to me, I've been thinking about this eBay thing for weeks now, since it first circulated, and I said, God damn, I hope not. You know what I mean? Like, what's the point? We've tried the marketplace situation. I understand that with collectibles, that's the thing you want to do, but like, that's not what, in my opinion, if it were up to me, GameStop would be putting a merch booth and an arcade in every single AMC lobby as part of the remodeling project. That's my thought. And I know I'm biased, but I just don't see it with eBay. And I feel like with all this secrecy, that's really it. I wouldn't be surprised if there was something else going on that we don't know
Well,
about
all
yet.
right.
And this is
Real
some kind of
real quick. Hayden has a great comment, and both of you guys were just talking about this, and the amount of hatred he had for the entire Squawk Box crew was priceless.
Oh, it was palpable. Like you could feel the tension, not even being in the room. It was obvious. Like he did that interview, like almost like I got the impression that he didn't want to be there. But like there's a contentious relationship there because he called them out on the fact that they said GameStop would go bankrupt. So why do you want me back on if this is how you've been treating me and my shareholders this whole time? It's bullshit. They're a bunch of talking heads who didn't do their research before they did the interview. They thought they were just going to coast through another Morning Joe and call it a day. And look at what happened. Like he underscored the fact that they weren't prepared. That's what I took away from it. The fact that he was there for almost no reason, wasting everyone's time because
I
y'all couldn't
like
be
your
bothered to read a
nomination.
landing page.
I like your nomination. I want to ask you one thing, and this is something I thought about, and now I'm just gonna kind of like put you on the spot and without notice and ask, what if he wants to blockchain eBay transaction?
It's entirely possible because we've tinkered around with Loopring. So it's not unheard of. It's not that that's not a possibility. It's not that that's not the future of options because if all financial markets are moving to the blockchain, that means everything that's associated with Swift, including eBay, is going to go along with it. That's just the nature of how it works.
But
Because
then
at some
every
point,
sale on eBay becomes a taxable action.
well, it's already technically supposed to be.
Yeah, but
It
it's
just
not.
the way it's structured
Technically,
is
it's
weird.
not. Yeah.
Yeah, the way it's structured is weird and it changes pretty frequently. My concern is the fact that with eBay, there's so much fraud. So much fraud. Like already baked into the business model, there's a shitload of fraud. And it's the no and I tell you what, I haven't touched eBay in a long time. I buy car parts on there. I buy specific things, computer parts, car parts, things where I can get refurbished stuff is great for eBay. But I will never sell another designer item again on that website because every single time I do, the buyer gets the item, they open a case, eBay decides the case in my favor, and then the buyer charges it back with their bank, and then the bank always decides in favor of the buyer, even though eBay decides with me. But I still keep my money. The buyer keeps theirs. There is a loss in the middle here, and eBay's the one that eats it. I know that they're making billions of dollars a year, but I don't feel fuzzy about this, guys. And I would like to think that there's maybe something else better, and this is some kind of head fake to move things a certain way, maybe based on our own investment in eBay that already exists. But I just don't see it. And the interview this morning was so weird that I tend to think there's something we don't know yet.
Yeah, well, Hayden again. I like a few times he reminded them. They said GME wouldn't survive. The Squawk Box crew thought Ryan Cohen needed them. Laugh.
Did you read the website? It is a yes or no question, and we can tell by the way this conversation is going that you didn't read it.
Exactly.
You didn't read it.
Mm-hmm. Plain and simple. My dum-dum of the week. It's a classic. He keeps on doing it. So I'm going to keep on making sure that you guys understand what is right and what is wrong. It's my good friend Nachi. The bondholders have been the evil doers that has anchored AMC into a must-have bankruptcy scenario. Well, they lost, and they now will be strangled by very own anchors. As of today, bondholders vote for merger is no longer required, moving it from public to private. No vote is required should AMC want to complete a merger. They deleted the veto power of the public debt market. The last time AMC was free and not under BK riddled chains was early 2020, prior to the massive debt loads taken on during the pandemic. Since 2020, AMC has been in a restrictive covenants prison. Every major move required consent solicitations, paying bondholders to let them breathe. Tonight is the first time since the pre-ape and pre-pandemic era that the international Odeon and domestic administrative hurdles have been cleared simultaneously. Thank you. Everything that I read in that statement is 110% false. Why? Because bondholders are a necessity for every single institutional business that are in the stock market. Bondholders are the ones that lend money to the business, and all they want is to make sure that they get their money back. Hence, why you have a bond market. Plain and simple.
And regardless, there's still covenants.
Correct.
Well, I think the one thing everybody fails to focus on is the fact that everybody points to the debt load accumulated during the pandemic, but the pandemic was artificial economic conditions caused by the government doing the thing that we all have now recognized was wrong.
Correct.
So why are we still harping on this like once in a lifetime situation as a reason why a company should fail overall? Because that's not the case. It's a very successful business model when the government's not interfering. Are we telling people to stop being landlords after 2020 because the government interfered and put a moratorium on evictions? Absolutely not. Companies are buying up rental properties at record rates. They don't care. It's a once in a lifetime situation where unless there's another pandemic or another lockdown, that should never happen again. It wasn't something that was natural to the markets to begin with.
Correct. But to try and place a enemy and give you guys some sort of, hey, we have to focus on this person being the enemy when they are nothing, not even close to the enemy. If you didn't have bondholders, you don't have a business. Period. Especially in AMC's case.
No, that's the
only thing
counterpart to
I need add
shareholders.
Go
there's
ahead.
a difference between like we're considered distressed debt, which makes our class of bondholders a little different than, say, a AAA company who debt lenders are of a different breed.
Mm-hmm.
So while there's some truth in covenants and restrictions and chains,
that's not what I'm trying to point out, though.
No, I know, but I just wanted to clarify that we are in the process of moving out of this distressed debt, which was part of the consolidation process of unwinding that and getting into a better debt structure, so that when we do actually move out of a distressed company into a growth, revenue, less risk company, the debt structure is in a place where we can continue that consolidation in a lower rate, higher grade debt economy.
Correct. But all of this comes in time. And that's the one thing that you got to understand, is that all of this will happen when it comes to AMC's rating improvements, all of their distressed quote unquote debt and all that gets paid off. It's repackaged, it's repriced and adjusted. This all happens. And I can tell you when it instantly happens.
We're seeing the transfer in the holdings and the put to call ratios and the institutional flipping from 60-40 short to long to the opposite, 60 long, 40 short.
Correct. But all of this comes in time. And when it instantly happens, I can tell you when that instantly happens, the minute the market crashes. Why? Because there's one head honcho, head ape, the Godfather, which is Adam Aaron. he becomes the richest man on the fucking planet. That's what happens. And AMC's stars are completely changed in one instant. And that's where I want everybody to understand. I am not sitting here and going ahead and saying that he's wrong, or this person's wrong, or this person's wrong. I am not trying to preach you. I am trying to teach you what is right. Period. And trying to state that bondholders are the enemy, that they are dictating what this company does, is false. And that is not correct. And it has nothing to do with any merger. There's no merger. I'm just going to say it right now. There's not a merger. Why? Because you would have it in filings. You would have it all over any financial news place on the planet.
I'm going to go to my quote. Anybody or everything that everybody has brought up as a possible merger so far is the neighbor buying the cow from the other neighbor when that neighbor is giving them the milk for free.
Thank you. Thank you. I am here for the facts. I'm here to go ahead and tell it to you straight. And that's what we are going to do here. We aren't going to deviate from that here, ever. And so I'm going to call it out when I see it. Something is wrong, and they're trying to inform you guys that something is wrong, because to me, that's bullshit. So we're going to lay it on, and we're going to lay it on hard, thick, to make sure that you understand what is right. And right from the beginning. Hence, Nachi, you are my dumb of the week. Which is going to lead in perfectly into what we are going to go over today. So, while I was sick and had no voice and like making all this stuff, I went ahead and I actually pulled some of my articles that I've done over the years. And this was a perfect time to give you a part 2. And this is your part 2, which is going to be in an article again. But this had 46,000 views. I had 306 individual DMs asking me questions about all this. And it was retweeted, I think, 296 times in one weekend. And so what am I going to do? I'm going to give you round 2, part 2 of this wonderful expose. And so, with that being said, AMC, the greatest show on earth, part 2, 2026. Now featuring bank runs, global contagion, and financial gaslighting with receipts. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the greatest financial circus ever assembled. A show so grotesquely over-engineered, so mathematically absurd, and so casually corrupt that it makes your average Ponzi scheme look like a lemonade stand run by honest children with better ethics and a clearer business model. Last year, I told you this wasn't a system. It was a performance, a carefully choreographed, multi-trillion-dollar magic trick. Magic. That where the rabbit is your purchasing power, the hat is on fire, and the audience is somehow convinced This is all perfectly normal behavior for a stable global economy. And here we are in 2026, still watching, still clapping, and pretending the magician isn't sweating through his suit while the stage quietly collapses beneath him. Because that's the real trick, isn't it? Not the illusion itself, but how long they can keep you staring at the glitter while the floor gives out underneath your feet. So let's start with something simple. Not theory, not opinion, just numbers. Global debt, government, corporate, and household has now crossed $300 trillion. That's not a typo. And it's not a dramatic flourish. That's the actual range tracked by institutions like the Institution of International Finance. To put that into perspective, the entire global economy produces roughly 100 to 110 trillion in goods and services each year, which means we are now operating in a system where total debt is about 3 times the size of everything the world produces annually. If this were a household, it wouldn't be leveraged. It would be on a reality show. Last year, I told you this wasn't a system, and yet the narrative you fed every day, from the suits on TV to the polished reports with reassuring fonts, is this is manageable, sustainable, and under control. Of course it is. Pfft, come on. Just like everything was under control in 2007, just like inflation was transitory in 2021, just like the banks were well capitalized, right up until one of them lost $42 billion in deposits in a single day. We'll get to that, by the way. But first, understand this. Debt by itself isn't the problem. Debt is just a tool, a dangerous one. Sure, but manageable if used properly. The real problem starts when the tools get leveraged, or layered, multiplied, repackaged, and leaned on so heavily that the entire structure depends on it never breaking. Because at that point, you don't really have an economy anymore. You have a balancing act. And like every balancing act, it works beautifully right up until it doesn't. Now, here's where things start getting uncomfortable. Interest rates, the cost of borrowing money went up, not a little, not briefly, but meaningfully, and for longer than markets, government, and frankly, the economists expected. That one shift alone has consequences most people still don't fully grasp. Because when rates go up, everything built on cheap money starts to creak. Governments now have to rebalance trillions of dollars of debt at higher rates. In the United States alone, interest payments are projected to push past $1 trillion per year within this decade. That's not spending on infrastructure, education, or defense. That's just the cost of having borrowed too much for too long. That's $1 trillion in bets placed in a settled in a single day. Companies are feeling it too. They borrowed aggressively when money was cheap, and now they're rolling that debt over at higher cost, squeezing margins and slowing growth. Consumers aren't immune either. Higher mortgage rates, higher credit costs, higher everything. And yet, despite all of the pressure building underneath the surface, markets kept going up. The S&P 500, that beloved scoreboard of financial health, continues climbing, hitting levels that would make you think everything isn't just fine, but thriving. But here's the part they don't highlight. a small handful of mega cap companies, roughly the top 10, now account for more than 30% of the index total value. That's not broad economic strength. That's concentration. That's the financial equivalent of 10 guys holding up an entire building while 490 others stand around taking credit for the view. At the same time, trading behavior has shifted in ways that would have sounded ridiculous a decade ago. We now have days where 0-day option trading contracts that expire within hours can exceed $1 trillion in notional value. That's $1 trillion in bets placed and settled in a single day. That isn't long-term investing. This is high-speed speculation wrapped in institutional language, and all of it feeds back into a system, forcing markets makers to hedge, pushing prices, amplifying moves, and creating a loop that looks like growth but behaves more like momentum with a serious caffeine addiction. And let me tell you, the system doesn't fail all at once. Meanwhile, under the surface, liquidity, the lifeblood of markets, isn't as deep or stable as it appears. It's been patched, supported, and quietly reinforced through central bank facilities and backdoor mechanisms that don't make headlines but make all of the difference when things start to wobble, which brings us back to that little contained incident everyone moved on from a bit too quickly. The collapse of Silicon Valley. In March of 2023, depositors tried to withdraw $42 billion in a single day. Not over a month, not during a drawn-out crisis. One day. Because once confidence cracked in a system built on trust and leverage, speed becomes the enemy. And here's where it gets even more interesting. That event didn't stay neatly contained within U.S. borders. It rippled outward, hitting startup ecosystems as far away as India, particularly in tech hubs like Bengaluru, where dozens of venture-backed capital companies suddenly found themselves wondering if their operating cash was about to just poof, vanish. Think about that for a second. A bank run in California triggering panic halfway across the world within hours. That's not a local issue. That's a global interconnected system reacting in real time. And the only reason it didn't spiral further was intervention, fast, decisive, system-saving intervention. Which sounds reassuring until you really think about what that implies. Because if the system requires intervention every time it gets stressed, the system itself isn't stable. It's dependent. Dependent on confidence, dependent on liquidity, dependent on someone stepping in before the crack spreads. And that brings us to the uncomfortable reality sitting at the center of everything you're about to read. The system doesn't fail all at once. It gets patched, stabilized, rebranded, and pushed forward, slightly weaker, slightly more fragile, and slightly more dependent on the next round of intervention. Over and over and over again. Market cycle. Tell yourself it's temporary. It'll bounce back. Hope returns. Things are looking up. Repeat. The market doesn't repeat. You just never learn. Today's goals. Ignore red flags. Chase green candles. Blame something. Repeat tomorrow. In denial we trust. Old plan. Same moves. Same results. Different day. This time will be different. New plan. Day one. Lose money. Why is this happening? Market drops. Get excited. This is the one. Buy. And over and over and over and over again. Until one day, the stress doesn't show up. as a dramatic collapse. It shows up as something far more subtle, far more dangerous. A slow erosion, loss of efficiency, a rise in volatility, a growing gap between what you're told is happening and what the numbers actually say. And that's where we are now. Not at the end, not at the beginning, but somewhere in the middle of a system that is still standing, still functioning, and still convincing most people that everything is under control. So before we move deeper into the mechanics, the leverage, the liquidity games, the carry trades, and the structural quirks that keep this entire machine running, you need to understand one simple thing. You're not watching a stable system operate. You're watching a complex system being actively managed to avoid breaking in real time. And once you see that, everything else starts to make a lot more sense. If it was broken, it would have collapsed already. The most expensive lie ever sold with a straight face. See, still standing. Debt, 300 plus trillion. Central banks printing confidently. Everything is fine, please clap. Money printer, liquidity on life support. Makes sense. I feel better now. Everything is fine. Hey, what could go wrong? Let's address the most comforting, most repeated, and most dangerously wrong idea floating around the financial world right now. The one that gets casually tossed around on TV panels, buried in analyst reports, and whispered like a security blanket every time something looks even slightly unstable. If the system was really broken, it would have collapsed already. Sounds reasonable. It feels logical. It even feels reassuring. And it is also, without exaggeration, one of the most financially destructive misunderstandings you can have in a system like this. So let's kill that fantasy immediately. The system didn't collapse. Not in 2025. Not when global debt blew past 300 trillion.
Oh, that is the exact only reason it hasn't collapsed, but the whole fucking debt structure is collapsing as we speak. Our own officials say that this is out of control and non-sustainable. Well, if that's non-sustainable, then what's going to fucking prop up the markets?
A figure trapped by institutions like the Institute of International Finance, representing roughly 3 times the size of the global GDP. Not when governments started spending more on interest payments, with countries like the United States on track to exceed $1 trillion annually, just to service debt. That's the problem, Matt.
100%.
No.
It didn't crash because they didn't let it crash, but they're crashing the entire national debt system.
Yeah.
By resuscitating the market every 5 minutes.
Correct. Not when borrowing costs surged after a decade of near zero rates, exposing how much of the global economy was built on the assumption that money would stay cheap forever. No, it didn't collapse. They just turned up the music and dimmed the lights. Global debt explosion. 2008, we just doubled down. Over $300 trillion? Bah, we're totally fine. 300 trillion in global debt, and somehow this is still called stable? Just shoot me now. Please. This is what we consider stable, folks. Because here's the part that most people don't understand. Collapse is not how modern finance systems fail. That's the Hollywood version. That's the version with dramatic headlines, flashing red tickers, and chaos you can point to in real time. Real systems, especially ones this large, this interconnected, and this politically protected, don't just fall apart overnight unless something forces them to. What they do instead is far more subtle, far more controlled, and far more dangerous. They absorb stress, they bend, they stretch, they get patched, they get reinforced, they quietly stabilize every time something starts to crack. Think of it like a massive bridge. If you overload a small one, it snaps. But if you overload a giant suppression bridge, the kind built with redundancies and reinforcements, it doesn't collapse immediately, it strains. Microfractures form. Loads get redistributed. Emergency crews step in. From the outside, it looks functional, but underneath, it's carrying pressure it was never meant to handle for this long. That's the global financial system right now. Still standing, still functioning, still convincing people everything is fine, but carrying more weight than it was ever designed to sustain. And here, this is where the numbers stop being abstract and start becoming real. When global debt crosses $300 trillion, that's not just a big number. It's a structural dependency. It means entire economies now rely on continuous borrowing just to maintain current conditions. Governments roll over debt with new debt. Corporations refinance instead of paying things down. Consumers juggle credit just to keep up with rising costs. And all of that works as long as borrowing stays manageable and as long as interest rates don't rise too fast or too far too fast, and as long as confidence holds. But when interest rates rise, and they did, and they stay elevated longer than expected, the math changes. Oh, what a shock. Suddenly, the cost of maintaining that 300 trillion pile of obligations increases. Not gradually, not quietly, but mathematically and materially. That's why interest payments have become one of the fastest growing expenses across developed economies. Go ahead, Matt.
No, I was just going to add that's when the rules of fundamental economic cause and effect come to roost and truth.
You can't hide it.
Obligations into realizations.
Yeah. It's not because government suddenly got reckless overnight. It's because the cost of past decisions is now showing up in real time. And here's the part that should make you pause. Even with all of that happening, the system still didn't collapse. Markets didn't universally implode. Banks didn't fail. The global economy didn't slam into a wall. Instead, what you saw was something else. Selective stress, contained failures, moments where things looked like they might spiral, and then suddenly didn't. And the reason they didn't is simple. Intervention stepped in. Liquidity facilities expanded. Central banks adjusted their stance. Regulators moved quickly to prevent panic from spreading. And just like that, what could have become systemic became manageable, at least on the surface. But this is where the illusion becomes dangerous, because every time the system avoids collapse through intervention, it reinforces the belief that that it is inherently stable, that it can handle everything and anything, that it will always recover, when in reality, what it actually is doing is trading long-term stability for short-term survival. It's not removing the pressure, it's redistributing it, pushing it forward, buying time. And in a system like this, time isn't free. It's financed through more debt, more liquidity, and more reliance on the idea that confidence will hold just a little longer. So, no, the system didn't collapse, but that's not proof that it's healthy. That's proof that it's being actively managed to avoid collapse. And there's a massive difference between those two things. A stable system can absorb shocks without external rescue. The system absorbs shocks with assistance carefully timed, precisely targeted support that keeps everything moving just enough to prevent a full stop. And that's why the argument, if it was broken, it would collapse already, falls apart the moment you actually look at how the system works, because it assumes failure happens instantly, when in reality, the most dangerous system are the ones that don't fail right away. They degrade, they weaken, they become more sensitive to stress over time. They require more effort, more coordination, and more support just to maintain the same appearance of stability. Until one day, the margin of error disappears. Not with dramatic explosion, but with a moment where something that used to be containable suddenly isn't. And by the time that moment arrives, the system doesn't look obviously broken. It looks exactly like it always did. Functional, active, convincing right up until it isn't. So as we move forward and start digging into the actual mechanics, the liquidity support, the market structure, the global capital flows that keep the entire machine running, keep this one thing in mind. You're not looking at a system that survived because it's strong. You're looking at a system that survived because it helped, supported, and managed every step of the way. And once you see that, and you stop asking, why hasn't it collapsed? And start asking the only question that actually matters. How much longer can it keep not collapsing? The day money moved at the speed of panic, or how a contained event exposed a global system held together by Wi-Fi and wishful thinking. Withdrawals, $42 billion in 24 hours. Silicon Valley Bank, contained event. It's the Wi-Fi. Is my money safe? Global markets. Nothing to see here. Fed statement. Everything remains resilient and well positioned. Blah, 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 blah. Liquidity in a goldfish. Let's revisit one of the most politely downplayed financial events in recent history. This collapse of Silicon Valley Bank. You remember it, right? The contained situation, the isolated banking issue, the one that was supposedly handled so efficiently that we all just moved on like nothing happened, because nothing screams stability. Like a bank going from pillar of innovation finance to regulatory seizure in about 48 hours. Here's what's actually happened. Stripped of the soothing language and PR grade storytelling. Matt?
That wasn't me.
Oh, how are you?
Oh, it was definitely me.
Oh, what's up?
Oh, it's always me.
No.
Nothing. I was just fiddling with buttons coming back.
Oh, you're fiddling with buttons. Got it.
Honestly, you guys, there's just, if we're going to the blockchain, and we already know that we are, like, it's not a question at this point. If we didn't want this to happen, the time to do something about it was like 2022. But that being said, everything has to crash. There needs to be like, because if they were just to come to the public and say, hey guys, guess what? Next week we're going to migrate everything to the blockchain, people would flip the fuck out. So they have to create a widespread panic. They have to create a problem to offer a solution to get people to accept it. And it's kind of the same thing that I've said right along with the idea of stimulus. We know if we use the word stimulus, then people will say, no, it's going to be just like last time. So what do? They offer the same thing again, but they call it a rebate. And everyone goes, yay, yes, we want a rebate. We're at a problem. We're at a point in time where it's become a problem that we've got double speak happening. We're just making up new words and definitions for existing words as we go along, as we see fit to fit the situation. And that's something that's a hallmark of a collapse, is that suddenly we're like scrambling to redefine words that we've all collectively agreed had a defined definition prior to now. Things like unemployment, things like, like there's so many words that we've just watched the government completely just in real time redefine. And then with a smile on their face tell us, oh no, this is what it means. This is what it's always meant.
So,
and I
you
think
mean
that
like redefining what a recession is?
I was trying to think of which word it
How
was.
about
Recession. We watched them redefine the word recession in front of our faces, and we just ate a shit sandwich and let them do it. We're in a recession. We've been in a recession this entire for the last 4 years. We've been in a recession, but it's been sneaky because you're right. All of the spending that's been happening is on a fuse. It's on a long fuse where you won't see it until a couple of years later, and then it starts. It's like boiling a frog. You know what I mean? You put a frog in a cold pot of water and turn the heat on. The frog's not going to know there's anything wrong for a little while. Then the water's going to start warming up, and then there's like, you know what? Cool. This is comfortable. This is
it's
warm. It's not
boiling
that
a
bad. It's just a little
lobster?
warm. And then all of a sudden the water's boiling, and by that point it's too late to jump out, and that's where we're at right now. But the system has to collapse. They have to create a need, an urgency, a problem in which, to offer a
They have to
solution, which is
create
the
a false
blockchain.
sense
Well,
of
no.
acceptance based on a narrative that gets support as opposed to.
I got
Well,
the
if
perfect
people
thing.
can't access their direct deposit one morning on a Friday, they're going to lose their fucking minds, and they'll say yes to anything. We'll put it that way.
How about they got to get the lie right? Plain and simple. You have to get the lie right.
Hackers. I'm telling you right now. I'm putting 20 on it right now. I'm putting crisp $20 out of my back pocket right now on the table. They're gonna blame hackers for it. Because the only thing left to do is just delete it all, just to wipe it and pretend like a mysterious, unpunishable third party that we can't identify is at fault for it.
It's getting the lie right.
That's why they're saying Claude. We watch what Claude did to the Mexican government. They're going to do that to us. That's why as soon as we watched all of us together in real time, watch what Claude did in the wrong hands to the Mexican government. And all of a sudden the Pentagon perked up and was like, give it to us.
Yeah.
You know what's going to happen next. That ain't good.
Here's what I'm going to explain this story, because once you understand the Silicon Valley story, the true story, you're going to have a vision, Chaotic. I promise you will, because what you just said and what you just talked about is exactly what this is going to open your eyes to.
Absolutely, because people, when you hear Silicon Valley and Silicon Valley Bank, think Silicon Valley, California. Silicon Valley is not in fucking California. That's the offshore entity for which money is siphoned from India on their infiltration of U.S. technology through Silicon Valley Venture Capital, India funds.
And so here's what actually happened. Stripped from the soothing language and PR-grade storytelling, on March 9th of 2023, depositors attempted to withdraw $42 billion in a single day, not over a week, not during a prolonged crisis, one day. That's one of the fastest bank runs in financial history, and it didn't happen because people suddenly forgot how banking works. It happened because they remembered exactly how it works. Here is the Silicon Valley Bank run of 2023. $42 billion in 24 hours, and it was called just a glitch. Here's the hours. withdrawals in billions.
Tis a glitch. Tis but a scratch.
Just as glitch. That moment mattered because this wasn't a scene out of an old movie. There were no long lines wrapped around the block, no frantic customers banging on locked doors, no dramatic footage of people clutching paperwork in the rain. This was a digital bank run. It happened through smartphones, Slack messages, WhatsApp groups, and venture capital group chats, moving faster than regulators could react. Founders were texting each other in real time, asking whether to pull funds, and within hours, billions were already in motion. That's modern finance. No pitchforks, no lines, no Wi-Fi, and fear. And in that environment, liquidity, the thing everyone assumes is always there because something entirely different, it doesn't disappear gradually. It vanishes instantly because liquidity isn't about how much money exists. It's about how much is available when everybody wants it at the same time. Now here's where it gets even more interesting and a lot more uncomfortable. While everyone in the United States was busy debating whether this was a management issue or an interest rate problem, the shockwave traveled across the world and landed directly in one of the fastest growing tech ecosystems on the planet, India. More specifically, the startup hub that gets held up as the future, Bengaluru, Hyderabad, Pune. The golden narrative of global diversification got a reality check in real time. When SVB collapsed, more than 60 Y Combinator-backed Indian startups had exposure to the bank. Millions of dollars in operating capital were suddenly frozen. Companies like Nazara Technologies disclosed roughly 7 to 8 million in exposure through subsidiaries. And those are just the ones we know about publicly. Think about what that actually means. A bank in California falters, and within hours, founders halfway across the world are asking whether they can make payroll. That's not localized banking issues. That's global system reacting instantly. It tells you something important that gets lost in all of the polished narratives. Global tech isn't global because it's diversified. It's global because it's interconnected. Capital flows from U.S. venture firms into startups that may be physically located in India but financially tied to the United States. Those startups hire talent, build products, and fuel local economies. It looks distributed. It feels resilient, but structurally, it's a network, and a network transmits stress. One weak link doesn't just break quietly. It sends signals everywhere. And that's exactly what SVB exposed. It didn't just hit a bank. It revealed the dependency chains that sit underneath the modern innovative economy. U.S. capital flows into global startups. Those startups drive outsourcing and hiring, and that feeds growth across regions. But when something disrupts the flow even briefly, and the effects ripple outward immediately. What you saw wasn't failure. It was sensitivity, a system that reacted quickly because it's tightly connected, but also one that destabilized quickly for the same reason. And yet, despite all of this, the system didn't collapse. Startups didn't all go under. India's economy didn't implode. Global markets didn't freeze. Everything got patched. Deposits were backstopped. Assets were absorbed, and confidence was carefully restored. Within weeks, the narrative shifted from, this could be serious, to, That was handled. But don't confuse resolution with stability. What you witnessed wasn't proof of strength. It was proof of dependence. It showed how quickly things can break and how aggressively they need to be managed to prevent something worse. Because here's the part that matters more than anything else. If $42 billion can try to leave a bank in a single day, if startups across the world can feel the impact within hours, and if confidence can evaporate faster than institutions can respond, then the system isn't slow. It's not gradual. It's not forgiving. It's fast. And that speed introduces a new kind of fragility. Not fragility from weakness, but fragility from interconnectedness and reaction time. So no, SVB wasn't just a bank failure. It was a real-world stress test, a moment where the curtain slipped just enough for you to see how tightly everything is connected and how quickly that connection could turn into contagion. And the most important part is this. That was a contained event, managed, stabilized, and resolved, which leads to the question that doesn't get asked nearly enough. If that's what a contained failure looks like in today's system, what exactly do you think an uncontained one looks like? And as we move into the next section, where we start to breaking down the actual mechanics that keep the entire system standing, from liquidity support to market structure, keep one thing in mind. You're not looking at a system that moves slowly enough to fix problems over time. You're looking at a system where problems can move globally in hours, and stability depends on catching them before they spread. Tell me that's not fucking nuts, Matt.
Oh, it absolutely is. And the fact that the narrative didn't fit the reality is unbelievable to me. Like that they could pretend that isn't what it was.
And they just did tell you everything's fine. Exactly chaotic, exactly what you said.
I mean, just like the SoFi failure on payroll that time.
Yeah. Yeah, everything's fine. Don't worry about it. It's okay. You know, we can manage. We can patch this.
It's just a minor delay.
Yeah, you know. Well, I promise you'll get it when I can do it, or think I can.
Basically, there's going to be failures, glitches, and outages that are extended long enough for people to suddenly panic. If you go and if you got bills to pay and you're expecting your direct deposit on Friday and suddenly it doesn't show up, and you go down to the bank and the bank says, "We don't know what to tell you. We've got an outage right now." How long do you think it would take before people really start freaking out? Like
Or the fact that they're
looting
already
and
doing
rioting,
that to
kind of freaking
people,
out.
basically.
How about they are freaking out?
Oh, we locked you out.
Yeah.
We don't have to tell you why, but you're under investigation, blah, 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 blah. And everybody
Oh,
looks
trust
at
me,
it
I
like,
understand.
well, yeah, that's happening to them. That won't happen to me, right? Until
No,
it
and I
does.
say that because I was unlawfully debanked that way December, January, and February of this year. I was unlawfully debanked that way, and we figured out what it was, and it turns out it is a widespread problem with process server fraud that has been under investigation. But BlackRock owns the entities that are responsible for the lawsuits behind it. So trust me when I say I understand on an intimate level what it's like to be debanked that way. It's not fun. That's probably, of all the things that I've dealt with on this entire last 5 years, you guys, that was the hardest thing I've ever had to deal with. But because of the way you guys have heard me manage things, you guys hear bits and pieces about what I do to manage my portfolio. Silver and crypto is what saved my ass. Now, if I picture somebody else with less resources available to them, what they might do in that same situation and what options they might be given that would be attractive. If that happened to somebody who really was going to be homeless if they didn't have that money that exact day, you know what I mean? There are a lot of people that are living check to check that can't afford food right now.
Oh,
And
yeah.
I acknowledge how fortunate I am to not be in that situation. So I think about what would happen to somebody who is not as well off as I am and what they might do. If the government came in and said, hey, man, don't worry about that outage. We'll give it to you in USDC. Do you think they'd take it if it's spent just like money? Of course they would. It's
No,
the difference between eating,
absolutely.
the difference between having lights and running water and and a roof over your head. Of course people will take it.
You know what? I'm going to go. I'm going to play just the first part of the intro today because you know why? It's perfect for what we're talking about right now. Optimistic Prime.
Everything is falling apart. My job, my money, my mental health.
Same. I checked my email and it felt like a personal attack. I tried to relax, but my brain said, no, let's panic instead.
Mean?
Greetings, tiny, anxious humans.
Why is there a robot in our house?
Is this stress or are we hallucinating?
Okay. What the hell is that?
Everything is probably going to be okay.
That is the least reassuring sentence I have ever heard. No, seriously, my life is falling apart right now. I ate cereal for dinner and it was a bad decision.
My bank account just laughed at me, out loud.
Yes, but the vibes are improving.
What does that even mean? Define help.
No, I am extremely helpful, vibes, emotionally, not logistical. Look around you. You are alive. You have food. You have...
Each other. That did nothing for me.
That is because you are resisting the vibes.
You know what? Fine. Whatever helps you sleep at night.
Welcome.
It's what you're being preached. You know, everything's probably going to be okay. Hence, Optimistic Prime. It's so...
Yeah, I'm the apocalyptimist because even though it's bad, even biblically, there's always an after the flood. And the best we can all do in this situation, because we're at the whims of the systems that are in place and the people in charge of them. We can't do anything about this. It's too far gone for us to do anything about it at this point. So the best next thing we can do, instead of panicking and feeling helpless and depressed and anxious and like we have no control over what happens to us, we do have a little bit of control. And those are the things that I've also been demonstrating over the last 5 years.
Optimistic.
We can learn to be more self-sufficient. We can learn to grow our own food and raise our own animals, and we can learn
You can learn
find
how to
alternatives.
work outside the system even after the system's been implemented.
Correct.
Exactly. So like me, even though my access to Swift imploded the Monday before Christmas, you guys, I'm responsible for a 7-year-old angel in my house. The Monday before Christmas, my access to Swift was yanked away from me for no discernible reason at that point in time. Now I've since been able to unwind it, and it turns out it was unlawfully done by a BlackRock affiliate, which put on your tinfoil hat if you feel like it, but I'm dealing with it because I'm not the only one they've done this to. What do they do when they start running out of money? They start doing things that aren't legal to go get it, and that's one of the ways they've been doing it. And the fact that I had a safety net in place within systems outside of the Swift system is the reason why everything is okay. That's the reason why you guys hear me be so calm about these things, is because I've spent the last 5 years intentionally building safety nets outside of the current system so that in the event, not that I want it to happen, not that I'm cheering for it, not that I want this to happen to anybody or all of us, because it affects us all in the whole world. But if that thing were to happen, I have a half dozen safety nets that are ready to cushion me in that situation. And that's the best we can all do. And this is the hardest thing I have ever worked on. It is the most prepared I've ever been for anything ever in my entire life. That's how serious I am about this. If it doesn't happen, I'm more than happy to be wrong because I don't want this to happen to the world. But probability says that there's no other option. So what do? We take the steps to reinforce ourselves, fortify what resources we have available to us in the way that we can operate outside of these systems that could and maybe will inevitably fail, and try to write it out as best we can.
And
That's all we can
there's
do. There's going to
precedent.
be an after the flood. What, you know, there's always an after the flood, you guys. Even after Noah, there is an existence after Noah. So even in the worst kind of flood, there's an after
There's
the
a
flood.
precedence
So don't feel
to
like
this whole CBDC like blockchain digital currency movement. And the precedence was everybody used to deal in cash.
Mm-hmm.
And they've moved it to the digital cash system where everybody just walks around with a digital computer chip card that tracks every transaction that's now connected to fucking cameras and locations.
It's called your phone.
And
you know what, the one thing that they have tried time and time again to get in the middle of and try to tax and try to figure out a way to get control of is the barter system. The barter system is one of the most effective system outside of SWIFT systems. Meet your neighbors, make some friends at the farmers market, find other people that have access to skills and resources that you don't, so that in an emergency you can turn around and say, hey man, I'm going through a hard time right now. Maybe we all are. Can I trade something for you to help me with this? That is something they can never control, ever, 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 no matter what they do, no matter what technology they have, even if they take away money itself. The thing that they can never take away from any of us is the ability to barter. So I rely very heavily on that. And I think everyone else, I encourage everybody else to do the same. Plus, shit, we all been locked up for the last 5 years inside all the pandemic. Let's be social.
Hey.
Go do a moonwalk and find out who goes to the same farmer's market.
Do me a favor. Look at the screen, both of you. The market that only works if you don't look too close. Or how 500 stocks turned into 10, doing all the heavy lifting while the rest clap. That's exactly what you guys just talked about.
right. And it's not even just 10. It's 10 that's entire valuation is based on basket ETFs.
A wish,
that
a
all
hopeful wish.
consist of the same very 10. And well, multiples of debt exposure to crutch the underlying asset through synthetic fractal supply.
We call it, we're not going to call it a lie. I'm not saying that people are lying. I'm saying that people are hopefully wishing, giving you a thoughtful wish. That's the new word for lie, a thoughtful wish. So it looks great from here, record highs, everything's fine. But don't look too close. And let's talk about the S&P 500, that beautiful, reassuring number everyone points to as proof that everything is fine. You see it on the news, you see it in retirement accounts, and you see it climbing higher and higher, wrapped in confident language about resilience, strength, and economic health. It looks stable, feels stable, it's presented as stable, and for most people, that's enough. But here's the part that doesn't get the headlines, the part quietly sitting behind the curtain while everyone applauds the performance. The top 10 companies now account for more than 30% of the entire index. Out of 500 companies, a small handful is doing a massive portion of the work. That's not broad market strength. That's concentration. That's the financial equivalent of 10 guys carrying the entire building while everyone else stands around taking credit for the architecture. Don't believe me? Here you go. Here's the top 10 companies, 30%. This is sourced by the S&P, Dow Jones, and Bloomberg. Diversified. Sure.
Real quick.
Go ahead.
You can go to almost any index, ETF, fund, basket group, and almost everyone you're going to has a majority of these 10 and it's top 10 holdings, if not all 10.
Yep. In your 401k, this is, I guarantee you got all 10 of these. Guaranteed. And once you actually see that visually, it becomes harder to ignore, because when those few companies move, the entire market moves with them. When they go up, everything looks strong. When they hesitate, suddenly the word volatility shows up again, like it never left. Remove just a few of those names, and the idea of strong, balanced markets starts to fall apart pretty quickly. What you're left with isn't a broad rally, it's a narrow lift disguised as one. Now layer in that quietly fueling this dynamic passive investing. Over the past couple of decades, more and more money has moved into index funds and ETFs. Retirement accounts, pension funds, automated portfolios, all flowing into the market without asking questions about valuation, risk, or concentration. The system doesn't evaluate, it allocates. And because these indexes are weighted by size, the biggest companies receive the most capital automatically. So when money flows in, it disproportionately flows into the same handful of dominant names, reinforcing their positions at the top. This creates a loop. Money flows into the index. The largest companies get the biggest share. The stock prices rise. They become an even larger part of the index, and the next wave of money repeats the process. From the outside, it looks like growth. Underneath, it's structured money flowing rules, not necessarily fundamentals. And just when you think that's enough to question how stable this really is, there's another layer sitting right at the top of it. One that has quietly turned the market into something that reacts faster than most people even realize. So let's talk about options, specifically 0-day options or 0 date to expire. These are contracts that expire the same day they are traded. And yes, they've exploded in popularity. We're now seeing days where notional volume in these instruments exceed $1 trillion. That's $1 trillion in bets placed and settled within hours. 0 dates to expiration option, boom. $1 trillion a day, casino mode. This isn't investing. And look, daily notional is in the billions. Right here, that's $1 trillion. Look at this. And this goes until 2023. They don't report the rest of this. They won't show you past 2023. That's how scary this is, folks. Now, here's why that matters. And this is where it gets a little more technical, but stay with me, because it's actually simple once you see it. When traders buy these options, market makers on the other side don't just sit there and hope they're right. They hedge. If they sell call options, they often buy the underlying stock to offset their risk. And as prices move, they adjust those positions constantly. So what you get is a system where buying options can force buying in the underlying market. Prices rise, hedging increases, more buying happens, and prices rise even further. It's not a conspiracy, it's mechanics, a system behaving exactly the way it was designed to behave. But the result is something that looks a lot like traditional investing and a lot more like a feedback loop. short-term positioning influences price movement, which then influences more positioning, which feeds back into price again. At that point, the market isn't just reacting to fundamentals. It's reacting to itself. So when you step back and look at the full picture, what you have is a market supported by three major forces. Concentration at the top, passive flows reinforcing that concentration, and derivatives activity amplifying short-term movement. And as long as those forces remain intact, the system keeps moving. It looks strong, it behaves predictably enough, it reassures people, but removes or weakens any one of those support liquidity, inflows, and confidence. And things don't necessarily collapse overnight. They just behaving the way people have become comfortable with. And that is the key point. So I read it again. It reassures people, but removes or weakens any one of those supports: liquidity, inflow, confidence. And things don't necessarily collapse overnight. They just stop behaving the way people have become comfortable with. Because what you're looking at isn't a perfectly balanced system rising on broad economic strength. It's a system being lifted by a narrow group of companies, reinforced by automatic capital flows, and accelerated by high-speed trading dynamics that most people never even see. So no, the market isn't rising simply because everything is strong. It's rising because the structure allows it to rise. And once you understand that, the conversation changes. You stop asking why the market keeps going up, and you start asking a much more important question. What exactly is holding it up? And what happens if it stops? And that's where we go next. Because once you start pulling on that thread, you begin to see just how dependent this entire system is on forces that don't show up in the headlines, but determines everything underneath them. The invisible life support system, or how trillions in debt stays alive thanks to liquidity no one is supposed to notice. I'm fine. Nothing to see here. Global debt. QE injections. Huh? Low rates. Huh? Liquidity facilities. Central bank magic. Strong economy. Debt is sustainable. Inflation is transitory. Everything is fine. Caution. Do not question the narrative. Now, let's talk about liquidity, because this is where the illusion stops being impressive and starts becoming a little unsettling. Liquidity sounds complicated, but it's actually simple. It's the ability to get cash when you need it. It's the difference between owning something valuable and actually being able to turn it into money without everything breaking. And here's the part that matters. Modern financial markets don't just run on liquidity. They depend on it constantly, quietly, invisibly, because without it, things don't slow down, they stop. Now, officially, central banks, you know, the big guys, but
Sound like clowns. Ha ha ha!
Now, central banks officially, the Federal Reserve, have been tightening. You've heard the language: quantitative tightening, balance sheet reduction, fighting inflation, pulling money out of the system. It all sounds disciplined, responsible, and under control. And on paper, that's exactly what it looks like. But in reality,
is a little different, because while the front door says tightening, the back door, is wide open.
After the collapse of Silicon Valley Bank, the Federal Reserve introduced Bank Term Funding Program, which quietly made hundreds of billions of dollars available to banks that needed liquidity. You all remember that. At the same time, the repo markets, the system banks use for short-term borrowing, continues to move trillions of dollars every single day just to keep the financial system functioning. And while quantitative tightening was supposed to shrink the balance sheet and remove liquidity, what actually happened was more flexible. Liquidity was reduced in one area and reintroduced in another. It wasn't removed, it was redirected. So now, liquidity didn't disappear, it just went underground, like a financial black market.
It got socialized.
Except this one is completely legal. And that matters, because when a system needs constant support just to function smoothly, it stops being self-sustaining. It becomes dependent on access to funding, dependent on confidence that funding will be there, and dependence on institutions stepping in before stress turns into panic. Now, let's bring this back to the real problem, the part everyone understands instinctively, but tries not to think about it for too long: debt. Global debt has now crossed $300 trillion. According to institutions like the Institute of International Finance, that's not just a big number. It's a structural reality. Governments, corporations, and households are carrying more debt than they're used to. And that works as long as the cost of carrying that debt stays low. And here's the clown show. Global debt explosion, over $300 trillion. Hey, that's totally fine. 2008, we double down. But it didn't stay low. Interest rates went up. And more importantly, they stay elevated longer than expected. That changed everything. Because when rates rise, the cost of maintaining that $300 trillion pile of obligations increased in real time. In the United States alone, interest payments are projected to exceed $1 trillion annually and within this decade. That's not spending on growth. That's not innovation. That's just the cost of past borrowing showing up in the present. And now you start to see the full picture. Governments are borrowing more, paying more interest, and rolling over old debt at higher rates. It's not temporary, it's structural. Debt that looks manageable under low rates becomes significantly heavier when those rates rise, even if nothing else changes. U.S. interest payments, $1 trillion, just interest. Debt isn't the problem. Huh? Since when? Look at the problem. That's a problem. A big one. And this is where the math becomes unavoidable. Not math, math. When total debt keeps increasing and the cost of the debt keeps increasing, you don't have a stable system. You have a timeline, because eventually everything has to give. Either growth accelerates enough to outpace the debt, which becomes harder in a slowing global economy, or a system adapts in other ways. Inflation slowly erodes value. Financial repression limits returns. Currency purchasing power declines just enough to ease the burden without calling it what it is. And while all of this is happening, liquidity continues doing its job in the background, soothing overstress, preventing sudden breaks, and keeping everything moving just enough to avoid a full stop. So when you put it all together, the structure becomes clear. Liquidity is the support, debt is the weight, and the system is trying to carry both at the same time. As long as liquidity flows, the weight feels manageable, markets function, confidence holds, everything looks stable. But if liquidity tightens too quickly or confidence breaks, that weight doesn't disappear. It gets felt immediately. So no, this isn't just a story about central banks or policy decisions. It's about a system that looks stable because it is constantly being stabilized. A system that works not because it's balanced, but because it's being actively managed in real time. And once you see that, the question changes. It's no longer, is the system stable? It becomes something much harder to ignore. How long can something this dependent keep functioning without interruption? And that's the question that carries directly into the next section, because once you start pulling on that thread, you begin to see just how fragile this balance really is. Japan, the global financial Jenga block nobody wants to touch, or how one central bank owns half the market, and we're all pretending that's normal. Japanese government bonds, total market valuation in yen, 1.1 trillion plus, 7.5 trillion in USD. Bank of Japan owns 50% of all JGBs. Yen carry trade, yield curve control, decades of QE, zero interest rates, global liquidity dependence, financial system balance on hope, and low rates. Please don't pull this block. Japan's system is stable. Experts assure nothing to worry about. Yen carry trade exposure massive. Borrow yen cheap, invest everywhere else, profit until it's not. Top secret, don't look behind the curtain. Do not disturb. Seriously, don't. We are. Now let's talk about the quiet risk that no one, that doesn't make headlines every day, the one that doesn't get shouted out about on financial television, the one sitting there in plain sight like a loaded spring that everyone agrees not to poke too hard. I'm talking about the Bank of Japan and what might be one of the most underappreciated pressure points in the entire global financial system. Because while the rest of the world has been busy raising interest rates, tightening policy, and trying at least publicly to bring things back to something resembling normal, Japan has been operating under a completely different playbook for decades, We're talking about near zero interest rates, aggressive asset purchases, and a level of monetary intervention that makes other central banks look almost conservative by comparison. And here's the reality check that should make you pause. The Bank of Japan now owns roughly 50% of all Japanese government bonds. Half. Not a large portion, not a significant share, half of the entire market. Bank of Japan bond ownership, 50% owned. Normal? Actually, I'm going to say it in this voice.
Normal?
Price discovery died here. Because it did. Now let's translate that into what that actually means in plain English. A government-issued debt bond to fund its spending. And under normal conditions, those bonds are bought and sold by a wide range of investors, banks, pension funds, insurance companies, and foreign institutions. Prices are supposed to be determined by supply and demand, and interest rates moved based on market forces. That's how it's designed to work. But when a central bank steps in and starts buying massive amounts of that debt year after year, decade after decade, it changes the game completely. Prices stop reflecting real demand. Yields stop behaving naturally. And what you get instead is something called yield curve control, where the central bank actively keeps interest rates at or near a target level by buying as many bonds as necessary to hold the line. And now I'm going to pause because I'm going to ask Matt a question real quick. And Chaotic, if you're there, I will ask you the same question. You have our central bank, the Federal Reserve, buying back its own bonds. Do you think that's a problem?
It's an absolute domination on what the country economic idea of a free and fair market was designed to be. And it's an absolute government takeover of your economic freedoms.
In other words, a huge fucking problem. Who'da thunk? And Japan has been doing it exactly, it's been doing this exactly.
I'm sorry. I want to add one other thing.
Go ahead.
It's the equivalent of what they call a ghost bidder at an auction.
The very
where
same.
They have no intention of actually buying it, but if they get stuck with it because nobody will give the price, then they just lose the auctioneer premium, take the item that they basically bought on back for themselves, not to take the loss on the auction sale.
And Japan has been doing exactly that for years, which means the bond market, the foundation of the entire financial system, has been operating under conditions that are heavily managed and, depending on how honest you want to be about it, significantly distorted. As long as that system stays in place, everything looks fine on the surface. Borrowing costs, well, they stay low. Government debt appears manageable. And financial conditions remain stable enough that nobody feels an urgent need to question it. But this is where things start to get complicated. The Bank of Japan is now trying to step away from that policy. Not dramatically, not recklessly, but slowly, cautiously, and very carefully. And even those small adjustments, they matter. Because when you've held interest rates artificially low for that long, even a slight increase can have outsized effects. Bond prices begin to move, yield starts to rise, and those movements don't stay contained within Japan. They ripple outward across global markets. And this is where the story connects to something much bigger, the yen carry trade.
Before you jump into the carry trade and the effects of that, I want to add that when government basically steps in to buy its own bonds, it's doing it with its own people's money, right? But money that's supplied is printed to create that supply, which is inflationary. Inflationary devaluation of the underlying premium of the bond is a bigger loss than
huge.
And which creates a higher rate demand on the risk, and a higher rate demand on bonds that the people now own through their own tax-funded government money supply is more liability on the people, and it begots more printing, it begots more government intervention. It's just this doom loop. Now carry that into the carry trade, and you get
this. The concept itself is simple. For years, investors have been borrowing money in Japanese yen at extremely low interest rates, and then investing that money in higher yielding assets. Elsewhere, U.S. stocks, bonds, emerging markets, anything offering better returns. It's been one of the most popular strategies in global finance. Borrow cheap in Japan, invest somewhere else, and pocket the difference. Simple, effective, and massive in scale. But here's the catch. That strategy only works as long as borrowing in yen stays cheap and stable if Japan interest rates rise. And they're rising, folks. Or if the yen strengthens, those positions become less profitable, or worse, they start losing money. And when that happens, investors don't sit around hoping things improve. They unwind, they sell assets, repay loans, and reduce exposure. And when enough participants start doing that at the same time, it doesn't just affect Japan. It affects everything those funds were invested in. Stocks, bonds, and global liquidity all feel it. Now, think about that for a moment. You've got a central bank that owns roughly half of its own bond market, trying to carefully step back from years of intervention, while a massive amount of global capital is built on the assumption that those conditions won't change too quickly. That's not a normal situation. That's a sensitive test or sensitivity test on a global scale, because even small shifts in Japanese policy can trigger reactions across multiple markets, currencies, and asset classes all at once. And the most important part of this is this. Nobody knows exactly how large those positions are. There's no single dashboard showing total exposure, no clean accounting of who's holding what and where. It spreads across hedge funds, banks, institutions, derivatives, and cross-border flows that are incredibly difficult to track in real time, which means when adjustments happen, they don't unfold neatly. They cascade. And yet, despite all of this, everything still looks stable. Markets function, liquidity flows, and confidence holds, because once again, the system hasn't broken. It's being managed carefully and continuously. But this is where everything you've seen so far starts to connect. You got a system dependent on liquidity support, a system carrying record levels of debt, markets driven by concentration and feedback loops. And sitting quietly in the background, you got one of the largest monetary experiments in history beginning to shift direction. Not collapse, not panic, just shift. And a system that this interconnected shift matters because they reveal how sensitive everything becomes that has become to changes that in a healthier system wouldn't be nearly as significant. So this isn't about Japan suddenly causing a crisis. It's about understanding that the margin for error is thinner than it appears. And that stability isn't coming from balance. It's coming from alignment, from policies and conditions that all have to move together carefully to avoid unintended consequences. And that works right up until it doesn't. So as we move into the final section, the part where everything comes together, carry one thought with you. Not fear, not panic, just awareness. Because when one of the largest and most controlled pieces of the global financial system starts to adjust, you're not watching a local change. You're watching a global system test its own limits.
I want to add examples of that can be evident in everything from silver, gold, oil, the VIX. It's all a product of this system and its broken operations of network interference.
How about not interference? How about they're intervening?
Well, yeah, because it's not the natural cause and effects of economies how they're designed to work. So it's artificial manipulation for self-interest and self-enrichment through corrupt interventions.
Yeah.
That led to higher gas prices, led to wars, led to
bullshit on a platter.
Yeah, and the news media narratives, the Trump effect,
was the only thing that can calm you because you think it's all a show.
And it is, and it's a show purpose for you to buy the bait and do what they need you to do when they need you to do it, how they need you to do it to try to mitigate the damage that they're causing.
And the only real question left is what happens when those limits get pushed just a little too far? Which leads into my new presentation of Toilet Tank. Dun, 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 dun. Why so serious? Do you like my camouflage toilet paper, Matt?
I think we call that stinkflation.
Isn't that awesome? Tell me this toilet tank is not awesome. I'm totally, when MOAS happens, I'm totally getting a toilet tank. Just so everybody knows. I will post the picture of toilet tank. Because I am getting one. And it's going to be put on a pedestal. Like, I'm going to have steps that go up into my toilet tank, which will be a throne.
Are you going to put that next to your nuclear subtub?
Absolutely. And it's all going to be camouflaged. Actually, it'll be like the ACU digitalized camo. That's going to be my bathroom design. So nobody steal my idea. My final word. And I hope you guys have enjoyed this show because I enjoyed every minute of making every single video out here. What happens next, or how the game doesn't end. It just gets harder to play. So what happens next? Evidently not collapse, not some dramatic overnight event where everything implodes and the headlines finally catch up to reality. That's not how this ends. What happens next is slower than that, more stable, or more subtle, more frustrating. And if you're not paying attention, a hell of a lot more fucking dangerous. What happens next is erosion. Growth doesn't disappear, but it weakens. It slows down just enough that it stops feeling like progress. It starts feeling like pressure. Debt doesn't go away. It becomes more expensive. Quietly at first, and then all at once, when the numbers start stacking in ways you can't be ignored anymore, markets don't crash. It's a straight line. They become more volatile, less predictable, more reactive to forces most people don't even see. And liquidity, the thing holding everything together, doesn't vanish. It becomes unreliable. It shows up when it's not needed and disappears the moment it is. In other words, the system doesn't explode, it erodes. And erosion is harder to fight because it doesn't announce itself. It doesn't give you a clean moment to react. It just slowly changes the rules of the game while everyone is still playing like nothing changed. Now step back and look at what you've actually seen. A bank lost $42 billion in a single day, not over time, not during a drawn-out collapse, but in hours. Global debt crossed $300 trillion, a number so large it stops sounding real until you understand it's roughly 3 times the size of the entire global economy. A handful of companies now carry entire markets on their back while the rest follow along for the ride. Liquidity, the thing that makes all of the function, has to be constantly supported, redirected, and maintained behind the scenes. An entire startup ecosystem halfway across the world can feel the shock of a single event in real time. And after all of that, you're still being told everything is fine. My ass. That's the part that should bother you. Not the complexity, not the risk, not even the scale of the narrative, because the narrative hasn't changed, but the system underneath it has. So let me simplify this one last time. Silicon Valley Bank wasn't the crisis. It was the demo version. India wasn't the failure. It was the case study. And this system isn't designed to win. It's designed not to lose all at once. That's the game. That's the objective. Delay, absorb, manage, and push forward just enough to keep everything functioning without triggering a full collapse. And to be clear, that doesn't make it evil, but it does make it dangerous, especially for people who don't understand how it actually works.
No, the destruction it leaves in its wake is totally fucking evil. I don't care.
That's fine. And that's why I do this. Not for clicks, not for followers, not to play the hero. I do this because most retail traders are walking into a battlefield thinking it's a playground. They're told to focus on charts, indicators, and patterns while the real forces moving the markets operate at a level they're never shown. Liquidity flows, policy shifts, structural mechanics, and things that don't show up on a candlestick chart, but determine why that candle moved in the first place. You're not just trading stocks. You're trading inside a system that is being actively managed in real time by institutions with more information, more tools, and more influence than you'll ever have access to. That's the reality. And if you don't understand that reality, you're not just in a disadvantage. You're playing a completely different game.
I'm going to refer back to earlier in the space too, and I'm asking myself now, you know, given all what you just said, in what reality of a world would you imagine that GameStop would ever own eBay?
Why would a smaller company own a bigger company? It's the first question I asked myself. That doesn't happen.
That'd be like Ukraine buying the United States.
It'd be like Ukraine buying Russia.
Yeah, I like that better.
I mean, but understanding the system doesn't mean you lose. It means you stop playing blind. It means you stop reacting to noise and start recognizing structure. You stop chasing moves and start understanding why they happen. You stop believing the narrative and start reading what actually is in front of you. That's how you survive this environment. And more importantly, that's how you win in it. Because despite everything you've seen and everything that should make you cautious, opportunity still exists. It always does. But it doesn't reward ignorance. It rewards awareness, discipline, and the people who take the time to understand what actually is happening behind the curtain instead of blindly trusting what's being said on stage. And that's who this is for. Not the institutions, not the talking heads, not the people selling certainty. This is for the retail trader, the ones in the trenches, trying to make sense of a system that doesn't always make sense. The ones who've been told the rules, but never shown the full board. The meme basket community, the people who have been dismissed, underestimated, and written off as noise. Listen, you're not noise. You're participants in a system that just doesn't want you to understand how it works. And once you do, everything changes. Because this stops being about luck and guessing. And it becomes about positioning yourself in a system that isn't designed for you, but can be navigated if you understand it well enough. So no, I don't care about follows. I don't care about clicks. I don't care about being right in public. I care about one thing. And that's the people reading this. They walk away sharper than they were before, more aware, more prepared, and harder to beat. Because the last time the system blinked, $42 billion tried to leave a bank in a single day. Next time, it might not ask for permission. And when that moment comes, the only thing that will separate the people who panic from the people who capitalize is whatever they understood the game the people that understand the game that they were playing. And now you do. I will put this in an article for everyone. But before you leave, before you go, this Joker Ape is for you. And I really want you to listen to what he is saying. Because once you understand this, and this is in the simplest way for all of you to understand, once you understand this, you will change the system itself.
People love you right up until you stop being useful. You ever notice how fast that changes? Funny how that works. Really funny. They'll clap for you when you're quiet. They'll cheer for you when you're convenient. And they mean it until they don't. But the second you stand up, really stand up, everything shifts. Everything. They start acting like you're the problem, like you changed, like something's wrong with you. No. Nothing's wrong with you. You just stopped pretending. And that's the part that scares them. Not you changing, but you waking up. Because the moment you see it, you can't unsee it. You start noticing everything. The way they talk to you. The way they expect things from you. The way they disappear when you stop giving. That's not love. That's leverage. That's dependency dressed up as connection. And once you see that, everything feels different. You feel it in conversations. You feel it in silence. You feel it when people avoid you. Because you're not easy anymore. Because you're not useful anymore. And they don't know what to do with that version of you. So they pull away. Or they push back. Or they try to pull you back down. Back into the version of you that was easier to control, easier to benefit from. But that version of you, that version is gone. That's the moment most people fold. Right there. That's where they trade their backbone for approval, trade their standards for acceptance, trade their value for noise. And they call it normal. They call it necessary. It's not. Not you. No, not you. Because walking with people who don't value you, that's not loyalty. That's slow motion self-destruction. And you feel it. You always feel it. You just ignore it until you can't anymore. And that's when it hits you. It was never about you. It was about what you provided, what you gave, what you tolerated. And once you stop giving it, the whole thing falls apart. Not slowly, instantly. Like it was never real to begin with. You don't lose people when you stand alone. You don't lose people when you stand alone. You lose illusions. And yeah, it gets quiet out there. Real quiet. No applause, no fake smiles, no empty speeches, no one clapping for you anymore. Just you and the truth. And that truth, it's heavy. It sits with you. It doesn't leave. Because now there's no one left to blame. No one left to follow. No one left to hide behind. Just you and what you tolerate. Just you and what you accept. That's silence. That's silence. That's where power lives. Not noise. Not approval. Not them. Right there. In that silence. Because when you stop begging for a seat at their table, when you finally stop, you realize something uncomfortable. You were the one bringing the damn table the whole time. You were always the one bringing it. They didn't build it. They didn't carry it. They just sat there, eating off of it, acting like they owned it. Sound familiar? Yeah, I thought so. Now let's talk about something bigger, because this was never just about people. This is about systems. A system that only works if you keep playing your part. game where the rules change the second you stop losing. You saw it. We all saw it. They didn't mind you investing, didn't mind you participating, didn't mind calling you retail, like you were harmless, until you weren't, until your convictions started creating pressure, until your patience started exposing cracks, until your presence threatened control. Then suddenly everything changed. Market stability, liquidity concerns, for your protection. Yeah, protection. Funny how protection always protects them. Never you, never you. And that's when it should have clicked. You are not just an investor. You are not just a number. You are not just volume. You are the engine, the fuel, the pressure, the reason the whole thing moves. And they know it. They've always known it. They just counted on one thing, that you wouldn't, that you'd keep feeding it, keep watching, keep spending, keep participating, even when it worked against you. Complain, but comply. See it, but ignore it. Feel it, but stay in it. But what happens when you don't? What happens when you pull back, when you redirect your time, your attention, your money? What happens when pressure moves? That's when things shift. Not slowly, not eventually, immediately. Because power has never been loud. Power has always been precise, directed, intentional, controlled. You want leverage? Then move like it. Support what aligns. Cut off what doesn't. Be selective where you spend. Be intentional where you engage. Be disciplined when it matters most. Because this was never about noise. It was never about shouting. It was never about chaos. It was always about control. Your control. Your decisions. Your behavior. Your value. This isn't revenge. This isn't emotion. This is alignment. Your money. Your time. Your attention finally matching your values. And when that happens, everything changes, because standing alone was never weakness. It was clarity. And once enough, people see it, really see it. Not emotionally, not recklessly, but clearly. That's not rebellion. That's not resistance. That's a shift. That's a shift in power.
Fully engaged. Now I move like I'm built for the stage.
Through the dark you survive. Now you rise still alive.
Look, I was down, now I'm back on my feet. Now they watch every move that I make. They watch same ones that was down in my grind. Now they act like they part of the wave. I don't trust, I don't run, I don't fold. Never done seen how that fake love go. I did had to cut every time that we weak. Now I move like I walk this alone. Ain't no way out.
No way out.
No way out. Locked in the cage.
No way out.
Locked in. Now it's different, I'm moving with force. I don't speak, I just show it in motion. Everything that I built from the dirt. Now I feel like I'm breaking the mold. I don't feel what I already faced. I done been through the worst of the worst. Now I step like I know what it takes. Ain't nobody can take what I earn. Yeah. You hear that? That's pressure. That's pain. Turn me on.
Turn pressure, now I'm carrying weight.
No escape, no release, feel the weight underneath. Now I move like I own every breath. Own it, every step got intent, no regret. I was buried, I climbed out that grave. Now I stand like I conquered the test. I don't speak, I let silence apply. Silence too much just to trust what you say. If you fall, you get left where you stand. Let how evolve, now I'm building a new way. Every scar turned power in me. Every loss made a monster breathe. Joker Ape, yeah, I stepped out the cage. Now the whole damn world gon' see.
Ain't no way out.
version of me don't exist. Had to kill every doubt in my head. Now I move like I can't be touched. I was lost, now I'm locked in control. Every move calculated and cold. They were sleeping, I built in the dark. Now I step in, I take what I'm owed. No more pain, I converted to fuel. No more fear, I ain't playing it safe. Can't no cage that can hold what I am. No, I break out every time that I'm placed. Say it with me. Say it louder. One more time. One more time.
Ain't no way out. Ain't no way out.
No way out.
Ain't no way out. Ain't no way out. Ain't no way out.
No way out.
No way out.
No way out.
No way out. Ain't no way out. Ain't no way out. I'm locked in the cage.
Locked in.
No way out.
Locked in.
Ain't no way out. No escape.
No way out.
No escape.
Feel the pressure.
Feel the weight.
Feel the weight.
All that take.
Made me. Pain made you. Who you are.
Who I am.
Who I am. Yeah. This ain't survival. This control. Ape cage. I don't see what it's for. I just see what it is.
Joker Ape. Joker Ape.
I got pride, I don't beg, I don't fold, nah. Even broke, I was standing on my own, Hardcore, I didn't turn into stone. All that pain, I just carry it alone. I got scars, I don't show, I don't speak, Lost trust, I don't bond, I don't keep. If I love it, run deep, it run deep. If you cross, I don't fix, I don't reach. No reach. I was down, I was stuck, I was lost. Had to learn every win got a cost. Gave my all, I was taking that loss. Now I move like I don't give a damn. People close, but they switch for the game. Same ones acting like they for your pain. I was solid, they were playing a role. Now I see through the fake in the lane. I don't talk, I just watch how they move. Every lie show the truth if you listen. I done seen what that if you can do. Turn a friend to a snake in the mix. I got pride, I don't beg, I don't fold. Even broke, I was standing on my own. Hardcore, I done turned into stone. All that pain, I just carry it alone. Yeah, I done cried, but I hid that pain. Kept it in, had to smile just to deal with it. Fake smile, they don't know what it feel like inside. When your trust get worn down piece by piece. Real talk, I was giving, they was taking advantage. I was real, they were moving with damage. Now I move like I don't need nobody. All that love turned me into a savage. I got pride, I don't beg, I don't fold. Even broke, I was standing on my own. Hardcore, I don't feel that no more. All that pain, yeah, it made me a force. Yeah. I don't speak on the things that I seen. Too much weight, I was barely 18. Had to grow, had to cut off the weed. Now I move like I know what it means. I don't trust every hand that I shake. No, seen love turn fake in a day. Sweet, I was loyal, they play with my name. Now I move like I'm built from the pain. I don't chase, I just stay in my lane. Everything I got came from the string. Joker Ape, yeah, I carry that weight. I don't break, I just elevate. If you know, you know. Pain teach you what love never could. I don't fall. Even broke, I was standing on my own. Hardcore, turning to stone. All that pain, I just carried along. Yeah, I was fighting myself, I ain't tell nobody. Smiling outside as I feel an empty body. Carry that weight, I was barely standing still, showed up every day, I don't need no credit. I done sat in the dark, had to face my thoughts. Every loss cut deep, yeah, it came with a cost. And to learn how to heal without nobody helping. Now I move like I built from the pain I was dealt with. I don't speak on the nights, I ain't think I make it. Too much pressure, I almost let it break me. Now I stand on it all, I ain't running from nothing. Every scar tell a story, I became what it made me. I don't need validation, I know who I am. I was lost, now I move with a plan. Joker Ape, I turn into sun. From the pain I rebuilt as a man. You know, pain teach you what love never could. I don't beg, I don't fold. Even broke, I was standing on my own. Hardcore, turning to stone. All that pain, I just carried along.
Welcome to the cage. Round and round we go.
Hope you're not afraid of heights.
This ride never stops. No one gets off.
Enjoy the fall.
Well, that escalated fast. You haven't seen chaos yet.
Aw, don't leave yet. We're just getting started.
That's a wrap.